crew, welcome back to The Spiritual Social. I'm Lexi, your local light worker. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer. I'm very happy to have you here with me today for a very special pick-a-card reading. This is something that came upon me last night as I was meditating on a lot of the awful things that are happening to women in the collective at the moment, and I just felt this inner activation inside of me as I was doing some yoga nidra, and I felt called to give you a pick-a-card reading that is meant to activate divine feminine energy inside of you, because I know that some of you watching my channel, you live at the moment in places of utmost conflict. There are also many rifts, separations, and problems in ordinary personal connections between men and women. And inspired by recent political, economic, and social events, I thought that this reading is so necessary at the moment. Buckle up, because it's going to be a bit of a lengthy reading. It is a three-parter as well. I'm going to read you stories. We're going to deep dive into the mythological meaning behind some of the world's most known goddesses. We're going to summon my particular group of goddesses, the ones I like to work with, which is Goddess Kuan Yin, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Isis. And yeah, I'm going to guide you through it as best as I can, because I think that the time is right for us to honor, respect, and revitalize the wounded divine feminine in the world. Not to mention how, with all the environmental scares, Gaia is incredibly upset. Mother Earth is struggling at the moment, and as a consequence, divine feminine energy here on Earth is also struggling inside of us. So this reading applies to girls, women, men who are allies and support women, but also men who feel feminine deep within, men who identify as women, or who just are very in touch with their yin-based divine feminine receptive energy. So take it as it applies. There will be different timestamps in the box down below and in the comment section. I have divided this reading in three parts. The first part will be you meeting your guiding and protecting goddesses. I'm going to pull from 4 oracle cards, a card, and tell you the story behind each of this goddess and the special message that your guiding, protecting goddesses have for you at this moment in time when you stumble upon this reading. The second part is going to be invocations. I will get a message, a deeply felt message from my guiding goddesses. As I mentioned before, these are goddesses Kuan Yin, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Isis. So we'll see what they have to convey to you during these changing, chaotic times in the collective. And the third part is going to be story time. I'm going to pull a card from the wonderful R Tarot. You can see it here. I have the guidebook. This is a deeply feminist, encouraging deck. It tells the gorgeous stories of a history of women that have sought to emancipate the divine feminine energy in the collective. They fought for justice, they loved people, they created art, and they just went against the grain. So you will meet one of these women, the one that I hope will inspire you as a role model. And then I also have stories which I will randomly pick at your specific pile from this book, Bygone Badass Broads. So I'm going to randomly open this book when I reach at your pile, and the story of the woman that appears, I have utmost confidence in spirit guiding me today that this is a story that you need to hear. And in addition to this, I want to give you another short story from this book, Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. Now, all of the books, all of the tarot and oracle decks I'm using here today will be linked in the description box below. So if you feel like purchasing them for yourself and continuing this practice of meeting divine feminine energy through these wonderful goddesses and strong women here on earth, then please continue to do so. But let me introduce to you the options now that I've described a little bit how this reading works. I have here 4 different cards that I have shuffled out of this deck. It's called the Little Feminist Playing Cards deck. and you see here the picture of Frida Kahlo as a cover. I absolutely love this deck. I think it's so fun, but it's also so inspiring and educational as well. So the options that fell out of this deck today couldn't be more beautiful and more diverse. We have here for group 1 Frida Kahlo. So Frida Kahlo will be your guide in this journey today. Frida Kahlo will help you reactivate your divine feminine energy, or activate it for the first time if this is your first encounter with the word divine feminine, or if you're wondering how best you can adopt this kind of energy in your life. So this is for group 1. You can go by the color, you can go by the name, you can go by the number, or by the person that inspires you the most. For group 2, we have here Amelia Earhart. Okay, so one of the first female pilots and a very courageous, brave spirit. Then we have here for group 3, speaking about everyday civil resistance and bravery, we have here the wonderful Rosa Parks. And then for group 4, we have again another woman who suffered violence in a bus and a woman who showed such bravery in front of the patriarchy. We have Malala Yousafzai. Yeah. You might be more familiar with the names of some women rather than others. Some are they lived far apart in time from the moment when I am filming this reading, and they might not be so well known to our current generation. But I hope that in this reading today, I hope that in this journey to reawaken the divine feminine, you will get a bit of a taste for doing some research on your own and look into deeper the histories of these women that you'll hear about today. So we're combining the mythical with the historical, and we're combining the everyday with the cosmic. I'm getting a little bit emotional whenever I do divine feminine readings. I do get a little bit teary-eyed. So I love this topic. It's so important as a daughter, as a sister, as an educator myself. I just completely resonate with this energy. And if you, like me, have tried to live a happy, independent, whole life, and you've come across a lot of problems, a lot of harassment, bullying, impediments on the path towards living meaningfully, wholesomely, and safely as a woman in the collective, then I'm sure that you'll get a little bit teary-eyed in this process as well. So this reading is all about you, and it's all about them. And I want to honor the divine feminine because we are in Libra season. The North Node is in Taurus, and both Taurus and Libra, what they have in common is that they are beautiful signs, and they are ruled by the goddess of love, none other than Venus, Aphrodite herself. Venus is her Roman name, Aphrodite is her Greek name, the goddess of love, the goddess of pleasure, beauty, and self-worth. But she also has associations with the Nordic goddess Freyja, the goddess of love and war, and also with the Egyptian goddess Hathor, the goddess of hospitality, domestic things, and everything that is connected to the home and the hearth. So, all this being said, I hope that while I was describing these aspects, you took a moment to really tap into which of these 4 cards speaks to you the most. Of course, you may choose more than one. I do strongly recommend that if you enjoy this reading, please like it, please subscribe, and please share it with another important woman in your life so that these messages get distributed to as many women as possible out there in the collective. I want to empower. I want to help you guys to keep radiating your brave inner light even during difficult times. So the more we can spread these gorgeous messages across, these beautiful stories, the better the collective will become. Okay, my loves? All this being said, thank you so much for being part of my soul crew. I love you guys so much, and I'm so grateful for this beautiful spiritual collective we created here. And now let's get into it. I'm super excited. Timestamps are down below. You have 3 different columns so that if you don't feel like listening to all of the stories at once, because I said that this reading will be longish, then you can quickly just pick one part, and you can listen maybe just to the invocations now. Maybe you can leave the stories for bedtime. Maybe you can tap and see which are your goddesses. Maybe you're not interested in anything else but your own personal goddesses. So feel free to adapt this reading to your needs. I keep it flexible, interesting, and rich with content for your specific needs and wants. Now let's get into it. Let's find out who are your goddesses, what invocations you need to hear, and which women are your inspiring role models. Hey group one, welcome to a pick a card reading in which we honor the divine feminine. This is for those of you that were drawn to Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is a Mexican surrealist artist. She was a Cancer Sun, so she could be a wonderful guide for you in this reading throughout all the many different options that I have laid before you. In this part, we are going to encounter the goddesses that are part of your protective group. So the cards I pulled for you are the following. We have here Sedna, and the keyword is gratitude. Then we also have here Parvati, and the keyword is devotion. We have here Saraswati, the goddess of self-knowledge, and the affirmations that she's bringing into your life are: the essence of who I am flows effortlessly into everything I create. And then the final goddess that is protecting you is Mazu, the Chinese goddess of ascension. So let's find out the messages that each of these goddesses has for you. For Sedna. Sedna is the Inuit goddess of the sea and all marine animals that live throughout her domain. She is the mother of the sea, yet many origin myths detail rather violent acts inflicted upon her before her transformation. One such story involves Sedna being dissatisfied with the suitors brought to her by her father, causing him to become so enraged that he throws her into the sea. When she attempts to climb back into the boat, he cuts off her fingers, which become the first seals. 2 more attempts lead to her hands and forearms becoming the first walruses and whales, eventually ending with her sinking to the bottom of the ocean to transform into a goddess. What is the special message that Sedna is bringing into your life? This could be particularly important for those of you who are struggling with violent fathers. Sedna rises to the surface to offer the treasure of gratitude. The act of being grateful is simultaneously the most simple and powerful expression of our energy, containing the potential to heal not just ourselves, but also those we care about the most. Sedna has seen the depths of the ocean, yet remains grateful for the life that survives all around her. So commit yourself to this mindset and trust in all that you have in your life. Take a moment to count all of the people or feelings that you would miss if they suddenly disappeared. Every fleeting moment is a gift, and we must approach each one with the appropriate amount of gratitude. Let's see right now what message the goddess Parvati has for you, the goddess of devotion. True commitment comes from the wholehearted living in body, mind, and spirit. When the Hindu goddess Parvati rises up to greet you, she is acknowledging you for your sincere devotion to personal growth. With the world in so much turmoil, it's not easy to devote yourself to higher knowledge and a strong faith. That is so true. But if you are to serve others by being a bearer of love, compassion, and light, you must recommit yourself every day, as unwavering in your devotion as Parvati was to Shiva and her goal of bringing peace to the world. Parvati asks that you find silence in daily meditation to contemplate your devotion as well as your commitment to all of life and to making this world a better place. The great goddess is present when you renew your devotion and make that relationship primary above all else. Then, in all areas of your life, your every choice will be in alignment and in service to this truth. When the goddess Parvati comes to visit you, it is a beautiful sign that you are on the right track. So maybe some of you needed to hear this at the moment. You're on the right track, okay? Don't give up. Never give up. Because giving up is basically giving up on yourself, giving up on life, yeah? So we have here Saraswati. Let's see what her message to you is as your current protective goddess. Saraswati represents the self-knowledge of who we are so that nothing impedes the flow of creativity from the soul. Her name is a fusion of the Sanskrit words for essence and one self. Saraswati name translates then as the one who leads to the essence of self-knowledge. She is part of the Hindu goddess trinity, the Tridevi, together with Parvati and Lakshmi. So this is interesting because you have Saraswati and Parvati. The only one missing from today's protective group is Lakshmi. All three goddesses help the trinity of Hindu gods Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva to create, maintain, and regenerate the universe. The earliest mention of Saraswati is in the Rig Veda, a collection of ancient sacred texts that date back to 1500 before Christ. She is sometimes referred to as the mother of the Vedas and is understood to be the personification of knowledge. Students appeal to her for assistance on exams, and writers and artists pray to her to remove all the obstacles that keep them from being a clear conduit for the creativity that she wants to see come through them. She is considered to be a river goddess or a feminine deity with healing, flowing waters. She is venerated as the goddess of music, arts, and learning because of this association with waters that heal and purify. Her iconography often associates her with a white lotus, symbolizing the purity of wisdom that her energy brings. And my hair has fallen into my eyes, almost as if you need a lot of privacy in this period. You might need to study, you might need to read, and call upon Saraswati because she is protecting you so strongly right now. And since we were talking about river goddesses and protective flow of waters, here is Mazu for you. Just as the goddess of the sea, Mazu, guides sailors home from rocky oceans, she's guiding you to rise above the chaos of your life and situation, to find your way back to your true self. So these are your protective messages, my beautiful group 1. Stay tuned because now we're going to move on to the invocations, or if this is where we part ways, then thank you so much for listening. Hey group 1, welcome to the second part of your reading. This is called the invocation because I will tap into messages from my guiding goddesses, Goddess Isis, Kali, and Kuan Yin, to see what they need to tell you right now about how to activate, honor, and respect divine feminine energy in your life. So the cards I pulled for you are, we have here, enter the chamber of healing, healing in the divine chamber of Lady Isis. Krishna, number 41. Weave the future golden, number 44, which is a number of ascended masters, and it represents growth, establishing a new spiritual foundation. Let's read right now the deeper messages that these cards are bringing into your energy right now, into your life as well. So, enter the chamber of healing. A spiritual gift of healing is coming to you now. Be open, without expectation or preconceived notions, and allow the healing from the Lady Isis, Mistress of Magic, to help you find the best solution for any situation that does not appear to be as it should be. Take your time and create space into which her magic and energy can flow now. Expect your miracle. This oracle comes to you as a messenger. Prepare for great changes because they are on their way now. When the Divine Lady Isis offers you a healing gift of magic, it is something to accept as a gift of unconditional love, with open arms. It will be offered without agenda, with the only intent being for your highest good and spiritual growth. It will not necessarily look or feel like you expected, but you will realize it in the unfoldment of the process or circumstance that it was a spiritual healing gift from the divine, even though you may not have immediately recognized it as such at the time. You will be able to recognize the healing by the experience of it and its effects, even before the complete resolution of the issue at hand. The experience will be that the issue is somehow lifted from you, and the effect will be that the issue seems genuinely out of your control and yet not out of your control. This is the way that the gift of healing can come to you now. Time is sacred space to contemplate and reflect. It is extremely helpful to receive divine intervention as consciously, swiftly, and fully as possible. Sacred space can be a physical place that allows you to put your day-to-day activities and thoughts to one side and instead indulge in just being as you are in the moment. It might be a place in nature, your meditation place or healing room, or a sanctuary that you have where you can be alone for a time, or even a meditation group or healing circle. Sacred space allows you to simply be, to not have to think, sort things out, or analyze, but to open, rest, allow inspiration or guidance to come as is and when it chooses, and to allow for the mysteries of healing to occur. Healing happens most powerfully when there is a space, openness, and allowing. We let go for healing to flow. Time and sacred space will help you receive the inner adjustments that you need for the healing magic of the Lady Isis to be able to reach you with full boldness and genius. So this is the message I had for you for the first card. Now let's move on to the second card, which shows the image of Krishna. There is a spiritual intelligence within your soul. It is the genius of becoming, of ripening from potential into glorious manifestation. Intimate communion with your own heart will reveal what it is you truly yearn for and set the process in motion for that yearning to be satisfied. The holy fire is Kali, and she is within your soul. Follow the yearning, seek the light. Let yourself burn bright for what inspires you, and you shall see the path to fruition clearly before you. Believe in what is meant to be. The name Krishna translates as "you are fire." Agni is the tower-headed deity of fire and a potent symbol of supernatural power. I apologize, it's not tower-headed, it's two-headed. On the physical level, fire generates light and heat to cook food, thereby representing both transformation and nourishment of your life force. The inner digestive fires that metabolize food and allow us to gain nutrients represent the inner nourishment of fire and symbolize the soul's need to digest our life's experience for spiritual growth. Fire can create purification for regeneration, such as that seen in a forest after it simultaneously burns away old growth and stimulates new seeds. In that sense, it is also the power of ripening, of bringing something from an idea or potential into fruition and fulfillment of innate purpose. On a spiritual level, fire attracts the soul, helping it find its way through darkness towards warmth and light. As the sun, Agni represents the light that ends the darkness, yet Kali, the divine mother of dark rays, is the first of the tongues of divine fire. This is the key to Kali's mysteries. It differentiates her from the concept of darkness as an evil or obstructive force against our spiritual awakening. Kali leads us into darkness to free us, not to impede our progress. She destroys in order to create, not to annihilate. In that sense, her divine darkness is light. This is the mystery of Kali and why we can trust her so implicitly, understanding that sometimes it is only in moving through the darker times that we become aware of what is needed to live with more light. As a tongue of fire, Kali Krishna consumes all offerings. She is the divine capacity to receive our prayers, our pains, our craziness, and our graceful heroism. She receives it all. She not only receives it, but as fire, she transforms the offering so it can nourish, heal, revitalize, and purify the soul. This is divine feminine alchemy. Kali is the divine alchemist, and because she is a tantric goddess, if we offer her even our most broken and messed up selves with a sense of reverence and humility, she will accept the offering and manifest from grace. There is a deeper purpose to making an offering, the opening up of a channel between ourselves and the divine. The divine doesn't need to be cajoled into loving or wanting to help us. It is the human that needs help dragging the mind away from a fixation on what is wrong into the openness and presence that allows for divine grace to flow and for us to simply receive it. While the offerings appear to be about what we are giving, it is enabling the capacity to receive within us. It may seem like offerings are tokenistic, but a true offering is hard to give. It is hard because it requires that we shift our presence, our state of mind and being. The more we do this, the greater the offering. It matters less what the form of our offering is, but more how it affects us internally. The Oracle of Krishna brings the message that whatever you need and desire, you can have. However, you must be prepared to enter into the sacred fire to make the appropriate offering. When we choose to make the supreme offering of ourselves to Kali, we are fully received and thus activate the flow of grace in our lives for the spiritual benefit of all. The Oracle asks you to shift from focusing on what isn't working to immersion into the Divine Mother's heart. All can then be resolved and shall manifest according to her loving grace. Beautiful message. I hope you have enjoyed this. Let's move on now to what Kuan Yin has to say. Weave the future golden, number 44, and this third card over here. Something good is coming your way, Group 1. Kuan Yin urges you to weave your future into the present moment, to call in and draw to you the opportunities, teachings, circumstances, and synchronicities waiting for you that will enable your soul to live its divine destiny with greater abundance, bliss, and creative fulfillment. Do you know how much the divine wishes to support you and assist you in living your heart's truth this lifetime? Kuan Yin, with grace and compassion, wishes to help you ascend to the next level of your life expression so that your soul light may shine more brightly on the planet and help you and other beings to live with more heart and less fear. You can choose to live a life infused with the golden energy of peace, prosperity, joy, and creativity. A future so golden is being woven into your present moment now, like a tapestry, with the choices and actions that you make in this moment. You call into being the golden divine tapestry of future bliss. Clever you! Kuan Yin is aware that there are opportunities and assistance waiting for you in your future embodiment. She wishes to assist you in drawing those future gifts into the present moment where they can be of most use to you. This oracle indicates that there is something special waiting in the wings for you, and if you wish to do so, you can receive healing and elevate your vibration so that you are able to receive it more readily. If you have been holding a secret wish in your heart, perhaps to publish a book, to be a healer, to teach, to write, to sing, to attract a loving soulmate partnership, or just to spiritually awaken at a much deeper level, take a moment to feel what it would be like for that heartfelt wish to manifest right now. Can you imagine the joy of it? Can you also allow for that joy to be such a normal, ordinary occurrence that it could be part of your life right now? This is how you begin to weave that manifestation into this moment. Be bold, dream big, and imagine what it would feel like to live like your dreams. Can you begin to cultivate those feelings now, irrespective of whether you see the manifestation in physical form or not as yet? Sitting with joy in your heart, whether it relates to something specific or not, is magnetic to the good that the universe wishes to deliver to you. It is like switching your inner light on a higher voltage, so the special opportunities perfect for you can find their way to you more swiftly. And if your great good comes in an unexpected form but still feels wonderful, accept it. Your future golden will come into your life in the most beautiful ways. And usually, if it is not exactly as we imagined it, it is even more perfect for us. So thank you so much, Group 1, for listening. I am now wrapping up the invocation of Goddess Isis, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Kuan Yin on your behalf. I hope that you will continue to listen to the third installment in this pick-a-card reading, the third part where I show you your role model stories. But if not, if you choose to part ways, then have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye. Hey Group 1, welcome to your third and final part of this Divine Feminine Activation reading. This is going to be role model storytelling. I will pull a card from our tarot and I will read you the in-depth story behind the woman and the energy that will appear for you. Then I will randomly select a story from this book, Bygone Badass Broads, and then from this book, Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. Hopefully the women that you will meet here today are going to serve as an inspiration to you. Please make sure that you do research on your own if you feel particularly drawn towards the energies of any of the women that appear here today for you. Are you ready? So let's begin. Let's see. I feel like this is your card. So let's see which card you got. Okay, we have the Three of Wands, and it is Henriette de Lille. So this is the card, so you see it closer. Good, so now I'm going to look for the story in the Our Tarot guidebook. Let's find out who Henriette de Lille was. The Three of Wands is a card about exploration, adventure, but let's see in this context, how does it apply to Henriette? So we have her here. So the key aspects are foresight, commitment, readiness, and altruism. Henriette de Lille is an American woman who lived in the 19th century. Henriette de Lille was raised to blend in with 18th century New Orleans aristocracy. By the time she was in her teens, she was educated in dancing, music, French literature, and like a good Roman Catholic girl, obedience to her mother. Henriette was the daughter of a white French merchant, Jean-Baptiste Lille Serpy, and his mistress of African and European heritage, Marie-Joseph Diaz. Marie-Joseph was partnered with Jean-Baptiste within a well-established social system called placage, from the French verb placer, meaning to place with, wherein a wealthy white man and a free woman of color would enter into a common law marriage. Marie-Joseph expected her daughter to enter into placage as well, as it provided a way for women of color and their children to obtain a home and financial security. Typically, the relationship would continue until the man decided to marry, usually a white woman of his social class, although sometimes a man would continue both relationships, often funding the households of two separate families. However, it was the woman who took all the risks in entering into the common law marriage, as her livelihood depended wholly on her placage partner. Henriette had a different idea about her future. According to M. Shaw Copeland in The Subversive Power of Love, scholars maintain that she, Henriette, may have been a pupil at the St. Claude Street School, which was run by Sister Saint Marthe Fontier. Sister Fontier, who was wholly devoted to her vow of charity, had come to New Orleans to open a school for young women and girls of color, with an emphasis on teaching them to be teachers themselves, and Henriette was inspired by her. When Henriette was 16, her mother had a nervous breakdown and was deemed incompetent. Henriette received control of her assets, first using the money to make sure her mother was provided for. Perhaps relieved from the pressure of having to find a white male provider within placage, Henriette began preaching to and instructing slave women and children, illegally teaching them how to read and write. You go, Henriette. On May 2nd, 1836, Henriette de Lille inscribed a motto or resolution in the opening pages of a prayer book. Je crois en Dieu, j'espère en Dieu, j'aime, je veux vivre et mourir pour Dieu. I believe in God, I hope in God, I love, I wish to live and die for God. However, none of the Catholic religious orders of women admitted women of color into their ranks, much less one who was of mixed race and born out of wedlock. Instead, Henriette formed the Sisters of the Presentation. At first, the order was made up of a handful of mostly Creole and mixed-race women who had taken public vows of poverty, chastity, and charity. They provided care to the sick and education to enslaved children and adults. In 1837, with the help of the sisters' advisors, Father Etienne Roussillon, the New Orleans Archdiocese asked the Pope to officially recognize Henriette's small order of religious sisters. In 1942, they changed their name to the Sisters of the Holy Family. According to Donna Marie Porsche Frilot, in her 2005 doctoral dissertation, Propelled by Faith, Henriette de Lille led a handful of dedicated women into the religious life. She and her compatriots established a convent. The House of the Holy Family, as it was then called, immediately became an epicenter for Black female leadership and community reform. From that base, de Lille initiated a personal campaign to offer to free Black women an alternative lifestyle, one apart from the traditional roles for women as wives and mothers. The Sisters of the Holy Family still exist today, with sisters caring for the sick, educating children from poor and disenfranchised backgrounds, and providing homes for the elderly. They operate schools for children, nursing homes, and retirement homes in several cities throughout the United States. Henrietta Lille subverted the expectations of her upbringing by devoting her life to compassionate spiritual work. Her efforts were rooted in her understanding of the enormous value of literacy. She sought to empower disadvantaged women and children by teaching them to read and write. Similarly, the Three of Wands represents expansion and new opportunities. This card's presence in your reading signals the arrival of a chance to do something out of the ordinary. You may need to muster up the courage to move beyond your comfort zone and take a risk. If your plans haven't been going as you expected, consider shifting your expectations. You may be able to accomplish more if you do. When the Three of Wands appears, consider these questions. What opportunities for growth are available to you? In what areas in your life are you too comfortable or complacent? How can you facilitate your personal growth while also being of service to other people? This is Henrietta Lille's gift to you. Wonderful story. I hope you have enjoyed it. Now, I am going to put her over here as our guardian, and I'm going to select randomly a story from this book. So let's see. Okay, so you got Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi, 1828-1858, India. So it's interesting because Henrietta Lille lived in the 19th century, similar to the time that Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi, lived as well. She was known as the mom who fought colonialism. The story of Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi, begins as a cross between Cinderella and The Bachelor. At the age of either 7 or 13, there is a bit of a debate over her birth year. Lakshmi Bai was a contestant on what was basically the 19th century Indian equivalent of a reality show about finding love. When the Maharaja of Jhansi, an Indian state, Gangadhar Rao Newalkar, sought a wife among all the prettiest girls in his kingdom, Lakshmi Bai got the final rose, married Maharaja Gangadhar Rao, and became Rani, a Hindu title for queen, of Jhansi. They had a child and a generally happy marriage, until, there's always an until, their child died in infancy and Rao became sick. Like most kings, he was skittish about the prospects of dying hairless, so he picked a random child to adopt and called him the next ruler of Jhansi. Then he kicked it, leaving his queen and adopted son to rule. But, there's always a but, the aggressively colonialist British East India Company, reigning dipshits of India at the time, refused to recognize this adopted son as a legit heir. And with no legitimate ruler, Jhansi was annexed, their military and the royal court disbanded, corrupt British officials installed, and Hindu rituals banned. Assholes. The EIC sucked. Lakshmi Bai, constant champion for her people, decided to take the British court over her son's right to rule. But diplomacy got her nowhere because the East India Company, colonialist ass-cravats, were writing the rules, then rewriting them as needed to royally screw over India. So when diplomacy failed, Lakshmi Bai chose a different tactic: aggressive negotiations. Atta girl. 20-something Lakshmi Bai declared open revolt, attacked the British fort at Jhansi, recaptured her city, and massacred the British invaders. Sources aren't totally clear. I want you to see the image because it's so beautiful. Sources aren't totally clear on her direct involvement in the massacre, but it's universally agreed that this is where the transitions from Queen Mother into full-on boss bitch rebel queen, hell-bent on kicking the British out of India by their colonialist asses. Wow, that was a mouthful. Lakshmi Bai did a lot of stage crew work for the Indian Revolution. She built cannons and a mint and created a supported political infrastructure. She trained women in fighting, horseback riding, and elephant-back riding and shooting. From her trainees, Lakshmi Bai assembled a personal bodyguard of iron-jawed women courtiers who needed only a nod from her to turn into rampaging human wood chippers. Women who didn't fight repaired the city walls in secret under her direction. Lakshmi Bai herself fought to prevent the invasion of Jhansi from both rival regional lords and the aforementioned British dingbats. And by fought, I mean she rode into battle with her kids strapped to her back, a sword in each hand, and her horse's reins between her teeth. Which is just so hardcore, I just simply can't. But Lakshmi Bai was also a great ruler, with a heart full of compassion for the downtrodden. She exempted the poor from taxes and sold her jewelry to pay her soldiers and give them more food, all while rocking the single mom-to-be her adopted son beat. The British were beginning to panic because they hadn't expected India to fight back. Such fools. They launched a full-scale invasion of Jhansi, bringing a few thousand men and cannons to the border with a plan to blow the state off the map. Oh God. Despite staring down the barrel of the world's most powerful empire, Lakshmi Bai and her army held out for 2 weeks against the British onslaught, long enough for 20,000 soldiers to arrive from a nearby rebel province and attack the flank of the British army. But don't get too excited, because the rebel army sucked. They were led by dummies that immediately lost all the ground Lakshmi Bai had won. Lakshmi Bai was forced to abandon Jhansi, but she left it the same way she fought for it, on horseback, with her son strapped to her back. Lakshmi Bai continued to attack from afar as the British ravaged her beloved Jhansi and died in battle a few months later. Her last requests were that her belongings be sold to pay her soldiers and that her son be cared for. Today, Lakshmi Bai is an icon of India's first war of independence, usually depicted riding into battle with her son strapped to her back. Because seriously, why would you ever want to portray her any other way? Well, okay, I don't know why, but I kind of feel like crying. I'm kind of sad that she got defeated. But anyway, this is one of your heroines. So let's see right now. I want to give you another one, group 1, my Frida Kahlo group. This is your guide. This has been your guide throughout this marathon of a reading that I'm creating for you today. Okay, so let's see. Guided by Spirit, I'm choosing a story for you. And I open the page at the colorful Maya Gabeira. Yes, she's from Brazil, so I guess that's how you pronounce her family name. I do apologize if I mispronounce the names. So, Maya Gabeira. Once upon a time, there was a girl who liked big waves. Not the ones that you splash around in at the seaside. Not even the ones that you see from the pier. She liked super mega gigantic monster waves and wanted to become the superwoman of surfing. Not again, Maya, her mom would wail as her daughter headed off to the beach. You're always wet and cold and everyone else is surfing as a guy. But Maya didn't care. Surfing was her passion. And as for the guys, well, they better get used to me, she said. She started traveling the world in search of the biggest waves possible. Australia, Hawaii, Portugal, Brazil. Maya would jump on a plane and go anywhere to catch the next big one. Once in South Africa, she rode a wave 14 meters high, the highest ever for a female surfer. She won every major competition and became the highest paid big wave surfer in the world. One day, while she was surfing in Portugal, a wave caught her by surprise. The wall of water crashed over her, dragging her underwater. She broke bones and almost drowned before her partner rescued her and gave her CPR. After such a scary incident, most people would have been afraid to go back in the water and maybe thought about a career change. Not Maya. As soon as she healed, Maya went right back to the same beach in Portugal. I love it, she says. The surf around here is epic. And I think you'd be pleased to know that astrologically, Maya was born to be a badass because she was born on the 10th of April, 1987. So she is an Aries sun born in the Chinese year of the fire rabbit. Her quote is, "I ran a lot, surfed a lot, and worked a lot." Typical active Aries. So these have been your stories. These have been your role model stories. I can see here a lot of 19th century action. I can see here a lot of fire action as well. We got the Three of Wands, we got an Aries, and we got Lakshmi Bai, who is, by all intents and purposes, a pretty fierce individual. So I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Thank you so much for listening, and I cannot wait to see my next one. Bye, Group 1. Hey Group 2, hello my loves, welcome to a reading in which we honor the Divine Feminine, and we are looking into this first part of your reading to who are your guiding goddesses. I wanted to say as and at the same time. So let's find out who are your guiding goddesses. For those of you that were drawn to Amelia Earhart, she was one of the first female pilots. She absolutely loved flying, such a daredevil of the skies, and also a Leo Sun personality. So you could be Leo, or maybe you have a stellium in Leo. These messages apply to you. The cards that I pulled out for you that form your group of protective goddesses are the following. We have here Artio or Artio, transformation. We also have here Sara Lakali, Queen of the Outsiders, and the affirmation that she's bringing in your life is, I have arrived. I am where I will always be, in love. We also have here Persephone, Cora Persephone, or inexperience. And then finally, your guiding goddess is Athena, the goddess of wisdom. So let's dive deeper and find out the stories of these goddesses and what special message they hold for you at the moment when you stumble upon this reading. Let's begin with Artio. Worshipped as the she-bear, Artio arrived in Western Europe with the ancient Celtic Helvetii tribe around 400 before Christ. She is the elusive goddess of abundance and wildlife, able to shift between bear and human form as she pleases. Little is known of her origins, yet she is commonly discussed in the same regard as the Roman goddess Diana. Bears are synonymous with the aspect of rebirth, famously hiding away during the winter months to hibernate until the warmer spring arrives. Like the Greek goddess Artemis, Artio is both an exceptional hunter and a powerful guardian of the forests. As the snow begins to melt, Artio arises from her slumber to bring you the spirit of transformation. We tend to assume that the concept of transformation requires a physical change, yet we don't realize how much can be achieved from looking within. This transition often comes at the cost of ending a current path, but it can just as easily light the way towards a new one. Are you delaying a particularly difficult conversation with someone? Have you considered what needs to be completed within your life so that you may start anew? By allowing Artio to awaken the power of transformation that is already within you, a new journey can begin with a much more secure foundation. Beautiful. Let's see what special message the Queen of Outsiders, Sara Lakali, has for you. Sara Lakali is the symbol of the love that endures, the love that never dies. There are three main legends that surround Saint Sarah. First, she is known as a charitable noblewoman who collected alms for the poor in Sainte-Marie de la Mer in the south of France at the beginning of the 1st century. She had a vision that the female saints who were present at Jesus' death would arrive on their shores. And when they did, around the year 42, Saint Sarah was the first to lovingly welcome them with open arms. The golden legend from the 13th century says that Saint Sarah arrived with the three Marys, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Mary of Bethany, as one of their slaves. She was said to be an Egyptian, very beautiful and endowed with healing powers. The third legend is that Saint Sarah is the daughter of Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ. During the persecution of the early Christians, it is believed that Mary Magdalene fled with young Sarah, Jesus' mother, and Mary of Bethany to the south of France. There she raised Sarah and continued her ministry of love, of becoming what Christ referred to as true human beings, meaning both fully human and fully divine. Saint Sarah is known as the Queen of the Outsiders. She is the beloved patron saint of the Romani people. She is carried from her crypt in the cathedral to the sea on horseback every May 24th, so this is when we celebrate her in Gemini season, by thousands of Romani who gather annually to celebrate her. Romani are also known as gypsy travelers. There is an ancient chest in St. Sarah's Cathedral that contains the relics of the three Marys. St. Sarah represents the spiritual tenets of the Camargue cross, faith and hope, but above all, love. So this is her message to you. No matter who you are or where you are, St. Sarah's love is the kind that reaches you. There's nothing you need to perfect or prove. There's nothing you need to wait to become. There's only the deep, abiding truth that love is not outside of you. You are never an outsider to love. You are love. Okay, I'm gonna allow this to sink in a little bit. Saint Sarah is the ultimate love card, the one that whispers what you've always known, that love is our true purpose and our only true home. Love is where we will all arrive. No matter how persecuted, how lonely, how outcast we might feel, no matter how long it has been since we felt loved, Saint Sarah is the healing that comes when we embody love again. She is here to welcome us back to the singular destination we actually never left. Home is only ever as far as we allow ourselves to separate from the space of our heart. Okay? Beautiful message. I felt it so deeply. I hope you felt it too, my gorgeous pal too. Let's move on to Persephone now. Sometimes not knowing is a great gift. Right now, the Greek goddess Persephone invites you into a state of open-hearted learning. Discernment comes with experience, and at this moment, it's okay to admit you don't know or fully understand what is in front of you. Be curious and teachable. The goddess Persephone will be with you to ensure you will not fall prey to unconscious commitments and dangerous alliances, just as her own naivety caused her to strike a terrible deal with the god of the underworld, Hades. That said, every experience has value. No matter what choice you make right now, the consequences will have a lasting effect as you integrate your lessons and travel the road of destiny. I feel that for the majority of you, spring is a time of gorgeous awakening. You might get certificates or acknowledgements in spring. I just felt the need to say this channeled message. And then we also have here Athena. And what is the message that Athena, I mean, she needs no introduction. She's so famous. What message does she bring to your life at the moment? The goddess of war and wisdom, Athena, asks you to think strategically before you act. Use the wisdom you've gained from your experience to determine the path to the most positive outcome for your situation. Okay, group 2, you've got this. I believe in you. This was the first part. Now, if you feel like it, you can watch the other parts, the invocation and the role model stories. Or if we decide to part ways here, then thank you so much for listening. Ciao. Hey group 2, welcome to the second part of this pickacard reading in which we honor the divine feminine. This is called Invocations because I have invoked the presence of the goddesses that protect me this time, Goddess Isis, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Guanyin, to select these messages for you and see if they apply to your current circumstances. I hope that they will heal and inspire you. So let's see what messages you got. We have here Truths Unveiled, the revelation of Isis. We have here Mahakali, number 16. And Blessings of the Moon Maiden, number 2. Okay. Okay, so these are your cards. I'm going to dive deeper now into the messages that you need to hear that pertain to these specific cards and their energies. So the deeper message of the first card, Goddess Isis wants you to know that there are times when appearances of people, places, and things are truly deceptive. You will sense this when something feels uncomfortable within you, when you notice feelings of anxiety or doubt within you. You may think there is something wrong with you, but actually you are intuitively sensing that all is not as it appears to be. It is wise to trust your inner feeling rather than being convinced by outward appearance. There is a situation in your life, especially involving relationships, where something is not as it is being made out to be. To avoid undue suffering later on, Isis guides you to the truth and revelation now. The revelation of Isis is needed when something or someone is not as they outwardly appear to be. No matter how sacred it may seem, a spiritual person, a family relationship, a shared history, there are times when, although it is more painful to admit the truth in the short term, in the long term it will save you much suffering and feelings of being duped, misled, manipulated, used, or abused. It will also make it more likely that the situation or relationship can grow into a healthier expression, if possible. You cannot heal what is not revealed. Isis is with you now to help you realize the truths, to admit that you probably already sensed it anyway, and to make wise use of these revelations now. The Oracle of Truths Unveiled speaks of a time soon to come when you will realize true perception. What you thought was trustworthy, legitimate, or reliable may turn to sand, crumbling before your eyes. This may be a friendship, a job, an offer of some kind, or even the behavior of a loved one, causing you to question the real commitment or respect in a family or romantic situation. What is important here is to realize that when you see the truth, you can act appropriately. You will not proceed with an appropriate expectation, and you can reassess your boundaries and priorities to get the most out of a situation and not suffer undue disappointment later on. Isis was betrayed by her brother Set, who, out of his great jealousy, murdered her beloved Osiris. Now Isis was able to demonstrate great spiritual strength and healing power to resurrect her beloved Osiris, and all was not lost. She also learned a painful and valuable lesson that it is wise to take our intuitive feelings seriously and to recognize a snake in the grass when there is one. When pregnant with her divine child Horus, she ran and hid from Set, recognizing that he was destructive and dangerous, honoring what she knew and not pretending that it will all just be fine, and in doing so her child was able to be born. In the same way, there are creative impulses in new life within you that you need to be protected until they are strong enough to withstand negativity and undermining by another out of jealousy or fear. Like Isis, you must protect that which needs it by recognizing where something or someone could harm rather than nourish new life. You are being guided with this oracle to trust your judgment about someone's motivations or intentions. If you feel that something is not quite right, then give your discernment a chance to more fully form so that you can see the truth. The more emotionally detached you allow yourself to be, the clearer your assessment of a person, situation, or offer is likely to be. Clear perception is imminent and will help you make wise choices. Beautiful message here from Goddess Isis. Let's see right now what Goddess Kali has prepared for you with her Mahakali invocation. Her magnificence steadies the anxious mind and reassures the heart of the empowering grace that arises through trust in her. Attempting to fathom the wisdom behind the workings of the Divine Mother would be like trying to cram the entire ocean into a teacup. Such wisdom is vast and our perspective is limited. Yet we don't need to understand divine will to benefit from it. Better to allow her creativity, resourcefulness, and unlimited vision to take effect in our lives, bringing us every grace necessary for our blessed fulfillment. First of the 10 wisdom goddesses, or Mahavidyas, is the 10-armed Mahakali. She is laden with her sacred weapons. Many arms and weapons symbolize the capacity of the Divine Mother to work beyond human limitations. The contrast is not intended to diminish the dignity of our humanity. Humans have a tremendous capacity for heroism, kindness, love, grace, and generosity. Rather, it is an encouragement to engage with the divine with perfect trust in our hearts. Multiple weapons represent multiple creative powers to conquer multiple issues. More than two arms indicate that divine workings are not limited by our human perspective or capacities, and this is reassuring. The divine can accomplish works beyond what would be possible through human effort alone. Mahakali means Great Kali. She is known as the guardian of the cosmic order, the one who selects the timing for all unfoldment. Nothing can be accomplished without the necessary preparation, and not before it is the right time for it. Such process and timing are determined according to higher wisdom, capable of assessing and meeting the spiritual needs of all beings simultaneously. We cannot know what the order of events must be to accomplish the Divine Mother's purpose, but in hindsight we may attain glimpses of her unfolding genius. To live in harmony with her requires us to trust in what is unfolding and to work with that. Even when events seem to be going against us or we cannot see the way to succeed, how do we proceed with such trust? There is no magic to it. It is a choice we make again and again. When we sense the next step is before us, we proceed. When we need to wait, we wait. We do not try to force, but we tune into our hearts and sense what is guided in each moment. We allow ourselves to feel intimately known and connected with the divine as our ally. We recognize that a sequencing of certain events needs to happen. This enables lessons to be learned, so we are ready at every stage for what needs to come next. We are not being denied or blocked. We are being loved. Be here now and attend to what you can attend to now, leaving all else until the right moment is upon you. Your heart shall instinctively know that moment without needing to be told. All that is happening now is growing you toward that moment. All that has happened before has grown you into this capacity for this moment. This is as it is in Mahakali's beautiful wisdom dance, as she wields the weapons needed to provide the right conditions, the right endings, the right beginnings, within which the soul can flourish. Trust that what is happening now will give way to a new expression when the time is right. This will be when your readiness matches the requirements for success, and when those who can benefit from your increasing soul awakening have awoken sufficiently also. Attend to your work with determination and hope in your heart. Trust that the divine is taking care of everything else. Beautiful. And now let's see the final message that we have from Goddess Kuan Yin, Blessings of the Moon Maiden. The Moon Maiden, with her lucky hair, brings auspicious tidings of prosperity, abundance to you now. The universe seeks to replenish, restore, and create through you. Allow yourself to receive beyond what you have thought is possible by opening your heart with gratitude now. Let the blessings of good fortune from the beloved Maiden of the Moon Kuan Yin flow easily into your life now. Gifts of abundance and prosperity are flowing to you now. You're being asked to open up what you believe is possible and then open some more. Allow good fortune in all its forms to come to you. Don't limit what you are capable of attracting with false beliefs about how much you deserve or what you are worthy of having. The universe will share with you so much more than you imagine possible as you open your heart and let go of self-imposed limitations, doubts, or fears. The Moon Maiden blesses with great generosity, blessings of good fortune and peace, yet we must trust how these blessings come to us and accept that we may need to grow for those blessings to manifest in our lives. All blessings need energy within us in which to vest, like a seed needing soil in which to be planted, so it can manifest in the physical world as a vital, healthy plant. Blessings such as a new partnership, life path, career opportunity, growth in personal or spiritual power, or financial healing require energy within us to be able to settle and grow into physical form to be enjoyed and shared in our lives. Our beliefs, openness, vitality, and trust need to be big enough to receive the magnificence of the blessings coming to us. Otherwise, it is like asking a wonderful vast oak tree to be planted in a tiny pot or an ocean to be contained in a thimble. Do you know how easy it is for you to attract even more goodness and support for this growth in your life? Have gratitude for what you already have and how you have already grown. These blessings would not be coming to you if there was not a readiness and ability within you to receive them. The divine feminine endlessly creates over and over again, flowing in cycles just like the moon. If you have been through a challenging cycle where your creative ability to manifest seemed to be impeded, this oracle indicates that the tide is changing and your finances, energy, relationships, and vocation are being infused with abundant universal energy now. Accept this divine grace and know that your abundance helps others feel abundant too. It is a spiritual service to live a life full of fullness and joy. Wow. Group 2, these have been your messages. I do hope that you'll be able to flow with the rest of this reading and also listen to your role model stories. But if you have decided to part ways here, then thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye. Hey group 2, hello my loves, welcome to the third and final part of this divine feminine activation reading. I'm super happy that you made it here. This is going to be the role model stories inspirational part of your reading. I'm going to pull a card from our tarot and read you the deeper meaning and the story of the woman that is portrayed in this card, in this deck. And then I'm going to randomly select a story from this book, Bygone Badass Broads, and then from this other book, Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. So I hope that the women whose stories you're going to hear about in this reading today are going to inspire you, first of all, to maybe look up and do some deeper research regarding their actual histories. But I also feel that they might just inspire you to kind of take whatever you hear in their stories today and just craft a confident life of your own. That is my hope, my wish, and my intention. So if you're ready, I feel very ready to begin. Let's see who is your inspiring our tarot lady first. Okay. Which card did you get? Let's see. Wow, the Keeper of Wands. You got none other than Cleopatra. So you might already know a little bit about this very famous woman. I'm going to put her over here and we're going to search for the deeper meaning that she portrays, that she brings in this reading. So the Keeper of Wands is, okay, let's dive deeper into her story. So she lived in 69 all the way up until 30 before Christ era in Egypt. The keywords to this card are natural leader, royalty, cunning, charisma, and originality. So in this deck, the Keeper of Wands is the equivalent of the King of Wands. So when 17-year-old Cleopatra first became the ruler of Egypt in 51 before Christ, she shared power with her younger brother, 10-year-old Ptolemy, in accordance with tradition. The siblings fought each other for control of the throne, each backed by their own faction within Alexandria's royal court. Given that Egypt was a subservient ally to the Romans, they both sought the favor of Julius Caesar. After a series of unpopular political decisions and a famine in 50 before Christ, Ptolemy's supporters rallied around the young king and exiled Cleopatra from the capital city of Alexandria. Julius Caesar, with 4,000 troops, arrived in Egypt to restore peace. However, Ptolemy angered Caesar by killing Pompey Magnus, Caesar's enemy, but also a member of his family, by marriage. Cleopatra took advantage of her brother's blunder by going to Caesar to win his favor. She had her servants wrap her up in a rug to be carried into the palace in Alexandria and placed in his quarters. Her unconventional arrival and whatever she said to him gained Caesar's favor. After a conflict known as the Alexandrian War, which resulted in Ptolemy's death, Caesar ensured that Cleopatra was restored to the throne by 48 before Christ. Cleopatra was not considered a great beauty, but she had a way of using her personality and intelligence to influence those in power. Roman historian Cassius Dio wrote approximately 2 centuries later in Historia Romana, or Roman history, that she, Cleopatra, also possessed a charming voice and knowledge of how to make herself agreeable to everyone. So those are key skills. When Cleopatra was 20 and Caesar was in his 50s, the pair became lovers as well as political allies. In 47 BCE, Cleopatra gave birth to a son whom she named Caesarion, Little Caesar. The next year, with her baby in tow, Cleopatra sailed to Rome, where she lived openly as Caesar's mistress. Writing for the journal Middle East in 2011, scholar Juliet Hyatt elaborates on the queen's life in Rome. Cleopatra dazzled Roman society with the splendor of her luxurious lifestyle, at the same time equally impressing and antagonizing Romans with her intelligence and witty irony. Caesar openly spurned his Roman wife Calpurnia, installing a gold statue of Cleopatra as Venus in his new temple. He planned to marry her, legitimize their son, and make Alexandria a second capital of the Roman world. Cleopatra's efforts to secure her dynasty were severely undermined on March 15, 44 BCE, when Julius Caesar was assassinated by members of the Roman Senate. With her ally gone, Cleopatra and her son fled back to the relative safety of Alexandria, but her machinations to preserve and protect her dynasty didn't end with her relationship with Caesar. By trading with Western nations, Arabia, and possibly as far away as India, she built up Egypt's economy, bolstering her country's status as a world power, writes Amy Crawford in Who Was Cleopatra? In 41 BCE, Mark Antony, a Roman general who had been a friend and supporter of Julius Caesar, summoned Cleopatra to discuss how Egypt's armies could be of use in Antony's campaign to continue Rome's expansion through the east. Cleopatra arrived in style at Tarsus, Cilicia, or modern-day Turkey. She sailed on a luxurious ship featuring purple sails and silver oars. Upon arrival, she invited Antony and his soldiers aboard for multiple days of drinking, dining, and music. The pharaoh herself was dressed as Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. Cleopatra departed Tarsus, promising to support Antony, and he had sworn his loyalty to her as well. After Julius Caesar's death, his adopted son Octavian, one of his generals, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, and Mark Antony, formed a three-man dictatorship of Rome called the Triumvirate. Antony was largely in control of Rome's Eastern Empire. As one of the three most powerful men in Rome, it was advantageous for Cleopatra to align herself with him. In 41 BCE, Antony spent the winter in Alexandria, and the two began a love affair that would captivate writers and artists for centuries to come. In 40 BCE, Cleopatra bore two of her three children with Antony, twins, Cleopatra Selene and Alexander Helios. In 36 BCE, Cleopatra and Antony welcomed a son, Ptolemy Philadelphus. Antony's flagrant affair with the pharaoh irritated Octavian. Not only was Cleopatra's eldest son, Caesarion, a possible threat to his status as Caesar's heir, but Antony was already married to Octavian's sister. By 36 BCE, Octavian had already pushed Marcus Aemilius Lepidus out of power, thus ending the Triumvirate. Now he set his sights on taking power away from Antony as well. He spread the word that Antony was a traitor to Rome, as he chose to live with his Egyptian mistress rather than his wife. When Antony's forces conquered Armenia in 34 BCE, he declared his son Alexander Helios its ruler. 2 years later, Antony's secret will was made public, revealing his intentions to grant any lands he'd conquered to his Egyptian sons rather than to the Roman Empire. Octavian used all of this as further proof that Antony was fully in the power of Egypt's bewitching pharaoh, Cleopatra. In late 32 BCE, the Roman Senate revoked Antony's powers, making Octavian the sole dictator of Rome. Furthermore, they declared war on Cleopatra's regime. The conflict raged on for a year. The Romans trapped and blocked Antony and Cleopatra's forces at almost every opportunity. In the Battle of Actium on September 2nd, 31 BCE, Antony narrowly evaded a devastating defeat and capture by Octavian's navy fleet, only when Cleopatra sent in her own ships to save him. In 30 BCE, Octavian invaded Alexandria. Mark Antony, believing his beloved queen was already dead, fatally wounded himself by falling on his sword. As he was dying, he was brought to Cleopatra, who had hidden away in the royal treasure house. There, Antony died in Cleopatra's arms. Roman historians Cassius Dio and Plutarch say that Cleopatra then committed suicide herself, either by drinking poison or exposing herself to the deadly bite of a venomous snake. Pat Brown writes in her book, The Murder of Cleopatra, that this was recounting of the pharaoh's final moments, may be a little more than tragic fiction. Cleopatra may have been one of the most brilliant, cold-blooded, iron-willed rulers in history, asserts Brown, and the truth about what really happened was hidden behind a veil of propaganda and lies set in motion by her murderer, Octavian, and the agenda of the Roman Empire. Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of Egypt before it was fully absorbed by Rome. Had it not been for her boldness in crafting a public image as a goddess and aligning herself with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, Egypt would have been annexed by the Roman Empire decades sooner. She skillfully handled her country's economy, protected its resources, built an impressive naval fleet, and evaded her enemies for many years. The Keeper of Wands embodies an energetic leader who inspires greatness in others with her dynamic personality and vision. This keeper has the power to create, but she is more concerned with how she can collaborate with others to bring her ideas to a larger-than-life fruition. This card's appearance in your reading may indicate that you need to bring in a friend, colleague, or partner to help you focus on your strategy to become a leader in your personal and professional arena. As long as you tap into your confidence and clearly communicate your desires, the right people will be drawn to your side. These are the key questions to consider when you see the Keeper of Wands in your reading. What are your long-term visions for your home, career, and personal life? How can you act deliberately and methodically to make those plans a reality? What do you need to ask for help with this opportunity? Wow, okay, so this has been your wonderful story. Your wonderful role model is Cleopatra. Now, let's give you another one. Are you ready? So, I'm just going to allow Spirit to guide me to open the book wherever it sees fit. Okay, so you'll be happy to know that the next person that serves as your role model group 2 is Jackie Mitchell. She lived between 1913 and 1987 in the United States. She's known as the left-handed teen who struck out baseball's MVPs. Jackie Mitchell had the good fortune of being born one door down from Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Daisy Vance in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Daisy noticed that the scrappy left-handed tomboy next door had a good eye for America's favorite pastime and decided she was the one who would inherit his legendary fastball. Though I have a feeling no matter where she grew up, Jackie would have found her way onto the pitcher's mound eventually. She was basically born with a baseball glove on. Armed with Vance's teaching, her parents' refusal to make her conform to gender norms regarding girls in sports, and a God-given talent, at age 16, Jackie began pitching for the Angelettes, a women's baseball team in Chattanooga. It's there she met Joe Engel, owner of an expositional minor league baseball team, the Chattanooga Lookouts, and general weirdo known as the P.T. Barnum of baseball because of the odd stunts he had his players do for publicity. Joe signed her to the Lookouts because in the 1930s, recruiting a delicate girl with a wicked changeup was the same sort of novelty as having canaries in the grandstand. Joe also famously traded a player for a turkey and then ate the turkey. Anything for a headline. Jackie signed on the dotted line, becoming the second woman after Lizzie Murphy to play organized baseball in American history. At the tender age of 17, Jackie was enlisted to pitch an exposition game. Her Lookouts were coming up to bat against the big bad pinstriped Yankees. It was another one of Joe Engel's publicity stunts. Put his little minor leaguers against the Yankees, then charge by the head to watch them be eviscerated while enjoying peanuts and Cracker Jacks. At this time, the Yankees lineup included Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, two of the most famous players in baseball history. The Lookouts, well, they had Jackie Mitchell. With a left-handed lady pitcher at the mound, the press leading up to the exposition game was predictably sopping with acidic sexism. The ball won't be the only thing that has curves, one paper wrote, and across America women vibrated with the effort it took not to roll their eyes. But Jackie was good-natured about it, and on the day of the game, she powdered her nose on the pitcher's mound for a photo op, and probably simpered something like, "I am but a simple girl, better with a ball of yarn than a ball of base. What is sports?" Halfway through the first inning, the Lookout starting pitcher was one walk short of a marathon, so their coach subbed Jackie in, just as Babe Ruth stepped up to the plate. He gave Jax a tip of the bat and assumed the stance known as the easiest run of my life crouch. And then Jackie wound up, let it fly, and struck that son of a bitch out. Next, Lou Gehrig sauntered up to the plate and assumed said ball batting stance. I'm not a sports person. Jackie pulled back like a bowstring and struck him out too. Then Jackie had just bested the two greatest baseball players in sports history like a baller, a feat that caused the New York Times to comment on the exclusion of women from baseball. The prospect grows gloomier for misogynists. Awesome. But apparently none of the misogynists in America's sports could handle that. Joe Engel, who set up the game and had apparently not meant for Jackie to strike out two of the majorist players, immediately cancelled her contract. Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, despite being in possession of the greatest name of all time, supported this choice because, as he said, baseball was too strenuous for women. Sporting News suggested Ruth and Gehrig were too gentlemanly to hit the ball against the girl and had struck out on purpose. Babe Ruth, who had sort of cancelled out that speculated gentlemanliness by yelling at the umpire and kicking at the dirt after the strike, was called, trashed Jackie in the press, saying, "Women will never make good players. They are too delicate. It would kill them to play ball every day." Thanks for speaking on behalf of all of us, babe. But Jackie kept playing. She needed none of the MLB, MILB, and their sexist garbage. She joined the House of David, a barnstorming team best described as the baseball equivalent of the Harlem Globetrotters, but on elephants. After touring with the House of David, Jackie retired in 1937 at the age of 23 because she was sick of being treated like a sideshow act instead of a legit baseball player just because of her gender. Which makes me weep, because imagine what this lady could have done if her talent had been defined less by the fact that she did not have actual balls than by the fact that she had fast ones. Okay, so Jackie Mitchell is your second role model. It's always a little bit bittersweet when you read these stories because they feel empowering up to a certain point. When you see how the patriarchy destroyed women with great potential, it sometimes makes me want to cry. But we're not going to cry. We're going to be empowered in this reading today. And I'm going to give you now another inspiring story. So let's see. Which one? Oh no, that was the previous one for group 1. Okay, so you got Margaret Hamilton, and she's a computer scientist. So her quote is, "I worked on all the Apollo manned missions." Wow, okay. Once there was a girl who put a man on the moon. Her name's Margaret, and she was really good with computers. When she was just 24 years old, she joined NASA, the US agency that explores outer space. She took the job to support her husband and her daughter, little realizing that she would soon lead a scientific revolution that would change the world. Margaret was an engineer and led the team who programmed the code that allowed the Apollo 11 spacecraft to land safely on the moon's surface. Margaret would bring her daughter, Lauren, to work on weekends and evenings. While 4-year-old Lauren slept, her mother programmed away, creating sequences of code to be added to the Apollo Command Module computer. On July 20, 1969, just minutes before Apollo 11 touched down on the lunar surface, the computer started spitting out error messages. The entire mission was in danger. Luckily, Margaret had set up the computer to focus on the main task and ignore everything else. So instead of aborting the mission, Apollo 11 landed safely on the moon. The Apollo landing was hailed by the world as one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. But it wouldn't have happened at all without the brilliant programming skills and cool-headedness of one woman, NASA engineer Margaret Hamilton. And I think you'd be happy to hear that she was born on August 17, 1936, which makes her a bold and brave Leo sun. I do think that I've heard somewhere that Cleopatra might have also been a Leo sun, but that could just be maybe just some sort of myth. But it seems like fire, passionate, bold, bravery characterizes the reading tonight, because group 1 also had a lot of feisty, fiery fire signs in their reading. So I hope you have enjoyed this final part of what has been a marathon today. I hope that you do some more research on these women, allow them to inspire you, and yeah, take great care of yourself, and I cannot wait to see my next one. Bye, group 2. Hello, group 3. Welcome to the first part of this Divine Feminine Activation Pick a Card. In this first part, we're going to meet your guiding protective goddesses. And this is for those of you that were drawn to Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was an American civil rights activist. She's well known for her Montgomery bus boycott case. She has been called the First Lady of Civil Rights, and she was an Aquarius sun. Yeah, so this is for those of you that are drawn to her. Maybe you are an Aquarius, maybe you have some Aquarius energy strongly activated in your chart, Aquarius, Venus potentially. So let's find out the cards I pulled for you as your group of guiding goddesses at this moment in time. So we have here Santa Muerte, remembrance. We have Mother Mary, miracles. We have Sappho, the poetess, and the affirmations that she's bringing into your life are: I love every inch of my body, and I love the women in my life. And to complete your set of goddesses, we have the Spider Woman, universal connection. Now that you got to meet the goddesses, let's find out what in-depth messages they have for you. Let's find out what is the myth behind them. So we're going to begin first with the Santa Muerte. Known as Nuestra Señora de la Santa Muerte, or Our Lady of the Holy Death, Santa Muerte is a highly revered deity within Mexican neo-paganism and folk Catholicism. She is the personification of death itself, often depicted as a female skeleton beneath a robe of ever-changing color, holding a scythe in one hand and a globe within the other. The followers of Santa Muerte also associate her with healing, protection, and safe passage to the afterlife. While the Catholic Church publicly condemns the worship of Santa Muerte, many of her followers still consider themselves members of the Church, while others have cut their ties in order to form their own independent temples to the goddess. Sorry, my nose was itching. Let's continue. Santa Muerte points her scythe in the direction of remembrance. Our past can weigh heavily upon us at times, resurfacing from the depths to remind us what we have been through. In this moment, Santa Muerte wants you to embrace these reminders without hesitation or fear. Everything you've experienced has led you to this point, and we must honor those journeys as smaller parts of the bigger picture. Just be sure to continue moving forward, as stagnation can prevent you from appreciating where you are in the present. Open your mind to what has been, and you will find remembrance in what shall be. Okay, so this is the message for the Santa Muerte. I do think that because my nose was itching earlier, we are in the presence of one of these goddesses that we are presenting here as part of your set of protectors. So they seem to be very active. You're highly protected at the moment, group 3. I'm thinking that you'd be happy to hear that. Let's move on now to Sappho. Sappho embodies the deep love, admiration, and sensuality that exists between women. It is believed Sappho was born around 630 before Christ on the Greek island of Lesbos. She was referred to in antiquity as the 10th muse and the poetess, just as Homer was referred to as the poet. She is one of the great Greek lyrists and one of the few known female poets of the ancient world. She read her poems rhythmically while accompanied by a lyre in the form that is now known as a Sapphic meter. Sappho is celebrated for the sexuality and sensuality in her poetry, especially her love for women and the female body. Fill the goblet up, these laughing lips shall kiss the brim. Come, Venus, come. This is one of the fragments that remain of her voluminous collection of poetry. Ecclesiastical authorities in Constantinople and Rome obliterated her work in the 11th century. Her poetry was publicly burned because church leaders were scandalized by its erotic nature and that the author was a woman. In ancient Greece, a woman's love for another woman was considered natural, and Sappho's love for the female form became legendary. It is believed that she read her writing before groups of women, educating and elevating them as she performed her poetry about the goddess-like nature they all possessed. So, a true disciple and worshipper of Venus energy. Yeah? We have here the embodiment of the protector of Venus herself. So, you got this specific protective energy because instead of exhausting ourselves with the unholy effort of comparing our own bodies to others or of competing for resources that are actually unlimited, Sappho urges you to do the most revolutionary thing you could do. Love yourself and your sisters fiercely. We can't recover Sappho's lost poems, but we can reclaim the enduring spirit she left us with. We can become her poetry. We can revel in the pleasure we are capable of feeling, and we can love unapologetically with the full spectrum of our emotional range and from the fathomless depths of our hearts. Lift up a woman in your life. Help her reach a dream she's been incubating. Take time to indulge with lady loves in your life. Go to a spa, make a dinner together, go skinny dipping, or just do something outrageous that celebrates the fact that you love each other. In some cases, although it's not mentioned here in this booklet, if you love a specific woman, make love to her. Sappho is about the power of loving every inch of the female form. Spend a day flooding your thoughts with positive affirmations about your body or a woman's body. Take a long bath with red rose petals. Do something nourishing that acknowledges your love for the fact that you are a woman and for the radiating women who constellate your life. Okay, beautiful. Wow. Okay, so let's see right now. Mother Mary's energy, Mother Mary's or messages. I do feel the need to say that I'm feeling incredibly self-conscious with your pile, so maybe you guys are really struggling with harsh criticism from your environment. Push through it. The really interesting aspect in your reading is that before this day and age, Mother Mary, a symbol of Christian orthodoxy and Catholicism, and also Sappho would never be placed in the same pair together. The patriarchy made sure that they completely obliterated the work of Sappho and they raised Mother Mary to this idealized femininity. So you see right now how blessed we are that we are able to put pagan and Christian elements together, because in their essence it's about what these women represented, what they upheld. It's not about the way, shape or form that this came across, and it's not about how men viewed them. That was not important and that was not what defined them. It was about who they are and their essences. And indeed, we can be bold enough in the age of Pluto in Aquarius, which is coming up right around the corner, to combine pagan knowledge with religious symbology. Okay, I hope that this is the future, and I stand firmly by this belief. Now, coming back to Mother Mary. Mary, Mother of Miracles, has come to celebrate with you today. She is here to remind you of all the amazing wonders that are everywhere in your life right now. Look around you, especially at all the synchronistic events that have already taken place. Ever since you were born, events and opportunities have come together to support you, guide you, show you love, and present the world as you see it. Look closely and see the hand of the divine working on your behalf. You are a powerful co-creator, and so you are responsible and accountable for the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that seed your field of dreams. Remember, miracles are uncanny evidence that from the invisible world, life springs into form without any reasonable cause for the effect. Mary gave birth as the great goddess was shown to do long before the Christian myth of Mary became real. She too proved herself to be the very essence of creation itself. In this moment, Mary reminds you of those miracles that you too can call into being. You don't need a cause or any evidential fact or calculation to believe and then see that a miracle rises up in the conditions of your life. When Mary appears to you, you are reminded that you will never run out of miracles. So may it be. So may it be. God bless. So let's see. We have here, to complete your set of protective goddesses, the Spider Woman. A Native American deity, the Spider Woman is connecting you to all the vital threads in the universe. Center yourself and tap into those connections within and above you. Remember that we're all connected through this universal energy. You are woven into this incredible fabric. These are the messages that I have from your guiding goddesses. I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Feel free to continue the flow of this reading and also see your invocations and your role model stories. Or if you choose to do so, if this is where we part ways, then have a great time. Bye. Hello group 3, welcome to the second part of your reading. This is called the invocation session because I have invoked the goddesses that protect me this time, Goddess Isis, Goddess Kalima, and Goddess Kuan Yin, to see what deeper messages they need to convey to you at the moment about bringing more divine feminine energy in your life, about activating or reactivating it as you need to have fit at the moment. So let's see the cards that you received. We have here Spirit of Isis, Triumph of the Goddess. Powerful way to begin. Then we also have here Anahata Kali, number 33, which also happens to be an ascended master's number of creative and compassionate communication. And then we also have here number 19, Mother of Mercy. Okay, so these are the cards that you received. I will now dive deeper into the meaning behind these cards by reading you what they need to convey. So for the first card, the Spirit of Isis, the message is, Beloved initiate, there are times to surrender and let go, but there are never times to give up. Persist with your bold faith and inspired action until the impossible happens. Isis has the spirit of triumph and will never fail in her quest, no matter how bold or impossible it seems. Believe. It is helpful on the inner path to let go and detach over and over again, and yet we need to stay true to our heart and not give up on what we feel we are here to do. Whether it is reaching for enlightenment, for inner peace, for a creative breakthrough or personal healing, the triumph of the goddess is with you now, urging you not to give up. No matter how far away or impossible success may seem to be, don't quit. Persist until the impossible happens. The power of genuine inner will, not force or domination, but that inner power that fuels us to continue with our inner practices, to do what we need to do in the physical world, to bring ourselves to light and life, is growing within you now. It is supported by living the right quest for you, seeking to climb the mountain that lies within our own heart, not that chosen for us by another, but the journey that genuinely lies within us. Feminine strength with endless determination is fueled by loving devotion. Nothing less than love would be powerful enough to keep you going on your path long after you have tired of criticism or become even too fatigued to respond to fear anymore. Allow your heart to be the fuel in the fire in your belly, and let the divine love that is your birthright give you the energy and passion that you need to pursue your destiny and realize that it is pursuing you too. This oracle comes at a time when you need to know that you will succeed. It is a reminder that you can surrender, let go of attachment as to how it will happen or what it will look like, even if it is frustrating surrendering the vision into the divine fires yet again, waiting until you feel it naturally coming together according to divine timing. The spirit of Isis is willing to wait until divine forces collide and the miracle occurs. If you have drawn this card along with the miracle of Isis, then there will be a miraculous and surprising element to how your triumph occurs, an unexpected twist working in your favor. We haven't drawn this card with another one, but we have it in combination with Mother of Mercy. So I do believe that by forgiving somebody, you will ensure your success. By showing mercy and compassion, Isis is supporting you. Also because I see the way in which they look at each other based on the visuals in these cards. Remember, beloved initiate, that the forces of growth, love, and divinity are in your corner. There is nothing more powerful than these. Allow them to have their way and you will have yours. Your win is assured. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous energy. Let's see right now what Anahata Kali wants to convey to you. Beautiful, powerful mother of the sacral universal heart, who lives within our hearts as the wisdom and healing power of love. Your heart knows how to heal and how to open, how to break and repair itself to become stronger and wiser than before. Your heart cannot be contained or constrained by what has taken place. Your heart wisdom and empowerment are growing. Soon, you shall have the wisdom and courage to accomplish something very important for your soul journey. Trust in the invisible workings of divine love. Let your heart be at peace. The journey of the soul is the journey from the head to the heart. Anahata is the Sanskrit name for the heart chakra. Anahata Kali is the goddess who secures the awakening, transformation, and liberation of your heart. Love is her expression. When Kali Ma touches the heart, it becomes capable of love that is increasingly unconditional, fearless, and compassionate. Such empowerment often manifests through loss and betrayal. In responding to such challenges, we grow our heart's capacity for love, processing and healing emotions of grief, betrayal, and anger. Our heart becomes stronger through the process. The human heart is capable of overcoming enormous negativity. It is an astonishingly powerful and beautiful temple of spirit. We can underestimate the extraordinary power of the heart by focusing on its sweetness, love, and light as though they were weaker than anger, fear, or the consuming intensity of grief. We can only begin to understand the spiritual worlds and how they operate when we let go of the human perspective. A human believes that the heavier and denser something is, the more powerful it is. A heavy emotion like anger or physical situations that appears gridlocked are given more weight than the intangible realms of the spirit. Yet spirit is behind all these things in all things. Being invisible does not impede its effectiveness. If anything, it enhances it. For something so seemingly invisible, love has unconquerable power. We affirm this in expressions such as love can move mountains or love will always find a way. Yet we are conditioned to believe that there is more power in what we can see and control rather than the spiritual power of love. Such conditioning pulls us away from the heart connection into the fear-based belief system that we need to control things or there will be no benefit, no safety, no happiness. However, we can never be safe if we are disconnected from the spiritual home of the heart, where all healing, wisdom, true guidance, spiritual protection, and regenerating vitality resides. Kali Anahata brings a message from the Divine Mother that she is supporting you in healing your heart. She wants you to connect to more profound joy in life. As you trust yourself and trust in her, you can heal even long-term karmic scars. You can learn to return to love, to be in love, to live the love within your ever-beautiful heart. For those who live from the heart space, it can be hard to remember what it was like before, yet many still live in such a way, driven by fear, plagued with anxiety, hardened through living in a way that is oppressive to the spirit. For those who have had their heart broken in love, in spiritual communities, by friends or family members, by God or life itself, the message here is that something deeper is taking place. The shattering of structures, even of ideals, gives the heart the opportunity to break free and open up to a greater and more satisfying experience and expression of love. Becoming non-defensive, softening, and opening to spirit with unconditional trust places you in a position of astonishing protection, empowerment, and grace. Keep your heart open to the Divine Mother. Through that openness, the right thing shall emerge at the right time for you. The walls we build around our hearts need to be broken down so we can fulfill our sacred purpose and path. Trust that the pains of your past do not have a place in your future. No matter what appears to be, she knows the way through. Temper your fierce emotions without denying them. Keep bringing yourself back to your center. Continue to find the moderate and peaceful resting place within, even as you make radical progress on your path. This oracle card predicts the successful completion of a time of spiritual initiation. Grace yourself with the gift of relief. Wow, so powerful. I kind of felt a little bit emotional while I was reading it. Wow, a deep heart awakening and opening. I wanted to say two things at the same time. So let's see right now the finer message, Mother of Mercy, which I think complements the other two messages so well. Just like a sun that shines brightly, casting a strong shadow, your growing spiritual power needs to be expressed with the awareness that it will have an effect on others, even if you are not completely conscious of that effect. To create peace in the expression of your power, we call upon the Mother of Mercy. Mercy tempers great strength and power with kindness, gentleness, compassion, and caring. The Divine Kuan Yin brings the quality of mercy to you now as a divine gift, encouraging you to cultivate mercy in your dealings with others and to receive it for yourself now too. Dispensations of mercy come when we are without recourse. We have perhaps lost our way, become unable to find our way through, or have caused some great effect, for better or worse, that we did not intend. It might be even through our own hand that we have caused such a situation without intention or malice. We just proceeded in a certain way because we hadn't not yet learned the wisdom needed to avoid it. Or perhaps our own guidance led us into darkness consciously so that we could learn something valuable, and now we find ourselves a bit stuck. We may have perhaps been causing harm to others through our own unconsciousness. We could be suffering from a heavy karmic lesson from this or another lifetime, and our soul may be struggling to really integrate the lesson and feel free to rise up and move on. Perhaps we are in a situation with another where we hold great power. It might be as a parent, a teacher, a healer, or a boss. It might even be in a less obvious position of power where we could take advantage of another's care for us to secure what we want. These situations call for the quality of divine mercy. Divine mercy from the Heavenly Mother brings us to a place where we can stop the cycle of manipulation or of being manipulated, of unkindness or unconsciousness. To pray for mercy is a powerful prayer. Kuan Yin drops nectar of mercy from her ivory vase into the hearts of those that call to her. If you are in a situation on either side of the story, whether you feel powerful or disempowered, where there is manipulation, fear, struggle, hurting, or suffering, call upon the Mother of Mercy now. You are guided by this oracle to accept their spiritual gift to you. Even if the situation doesn't seem too dramatic, fortunately enough, her gift will abate any karmic escalation and prevent the situation from becoming any worse. It will even help you to undo the negative effects of what has already been unfolding. The spiritual assistance is offered to humanity from a place of loving respect, kindness, and great spiritual power. Blessings to Kuan Yin, Mother of Mercy, who watches over you with attentive love and cares for your spiritual progress. These have been the deeper messages, the invocations from goddesses Kali, Isis, and Kuan Yin. I hope you have enjoyed these messages. I hope that you will continue to listen to the third part of this Pick a Card. But if you choose to part ways here, then thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of the day. Bye. Hi Group 3, hello my Rosa Parks crew. Welcome to the third and final installment of this marathon of a divine feminine activation reading that I have here for you today. Thank you so much for being here. In this specific part, we are going to look into stories of role models, inspiring stories from real life women that I hope can give you some motivation to keep fighting the patriarchy and not give up during chaotic, difficult times. So, I'm going to pull a card from the wonderful Art Tarot, and then I'm going to read you the deeper meaning of the card and of the story of the woman that will be depicted on it. And then I'm going to randomly pick a story from this book, Bygone Badass Broads, and then I will choose randomly another story from this book, Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. So, if you're ready, I'm not going to keep you waiting too long. Let's get into the storytelling time. Let's find out who are you getting tonight. Okay, you got the Two of Wands. We have here Sarah Grimke and Angelina Grimke. So I guess that these are a couple of sisters. I'm gonna put the card over here as I'm going to look for their story. It's fascinating how tonight we're getting such an abundance of fiery energy, which is strange because the moon is not in a fire sign. But there we go. Spirit has a way. Okay, so Sarah and Angelina lived in, at the turn of the 18th century towards the 19th century. We have here the keywords of this card are outspokenness, courage, decision-making, and progress. So, this is your story. Sisters Sarah and Angelina Grimke were unlikely abolitionists. Their father, John Faucherode Grimke, was a rich plantation owner, a judge for the South Carolina Supreme Court, and a slave owner. Sarah, 13 years Angelina's elder, witnessed cruel punishments inflicted on her family's slaves when she was young, and from then on, unlike the rest of her family, she opposed slavery. She made attempts to teach her family slaves to read and write, an act that her family and the law strictly prohibited. She did teach Hetty, the young woman assigned to be her personal maid, to read and write. When her parents discovered this, Hetty was whipped. Sarah longed for a better education and to study law, as her father had done. Judge Grimke often remarked that if only Sarah had been a boy, writes Pamela R. Durso in her book The Power of Woman, she would have been the best jurist in the land. Because of her gender, her opportunities for education were limited, and her designs on a law career were dashed. As daughters of an upper-class family, Sarah and Angelina were expected to be proper ladies who sought similarly well-to-do husbands. But Sarah and Angelina were deeply attached to each other, in part because of their inborn intellect and their shared compassion for the other. By 1829, the sisters had settled in Philadelphia and became members of the Orthodox Meeting of Quakers. They were attracted to the group's faith and liberal views on human rights. To their chagrin, the Grimke sisters learned that the Quakers were not eager to participate in the burning hot debate on slavery. In 1835, Angelina wrote a letter to the editor of the abolitionist newspaper The Liberator. If we call upon the slaveholder to suffer the loss of what he calls property, then let us show him we make this demand from a deep sense of duty, by being ourselves willing to suffer the loss of character, property, yea, and life itself, in what we believe to be the cause of bleeding humanity. The editor printed the letter without her knowledge, and its publication didn't please the Quakers, who expected those in the congregation to defer to its social codes and beliefs rather than act independently. The letter did launch her writing career, though. In 1836, Angelina wrote a tract, Appeal to the Christian Women of the South, which called on women to reject slavery both because its practice contradicted the Declaration of Independence and because it was against the teachings of the Christian faith. In 1837, Sarah penned a series of writings that came to be known as Letters on the Equality of the Sexes, which defended a woman's right, among others, to share her views publicly, as she believed that men and women had been created equal and that women were made inferior not by nature, but by the schemes of men. She had such clarity of mind, she was able to see so clearly through the bullshit. In 1837, the publisher of The Liberator, William Lloyd Garrison, welcomed Sarah and Angelina into his abolitionist organization, the American Anti-Slavery Society. As part of the society's efforts, the Grimke sisters toured Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey, delivering public lectures about their first-hand knowledge of slavery in the American South. Angelina grew to be a forceful public speaker. In February 1838, she and Sarah arrived in Boston to deliver an anti-slavery petition signed by 20,000 women to the state legislature. Dressed in a plain gray dress, 33-year-old Angelina delivered a deeply felt speech to the Congressman of Massachusetts, becoming the first woman ever to do so. I stand before you as a Southerner, exiled from the land of my birth by the sound of the lash and the piteous cry of the slave, said Angelina. I stand before you as a repentant slaveholder. I stand before you as a moral being, and as a moral being I feel that I owe it to the suffering slave and to the deluded master, to my country and to the world, to do all I can to overturn a system of complicated crimes. In 1838, Angelina married the formidable anti-slavery orator Theodore Weld, who helped the sisters develop their public speaking skills. At first they spoke against slavery to female audiences only, which caused a stir as it was considered improper for women to speak publicly during the time, even to other groups of women. But when their speeches began to draw in men, people, even ardent abolitionists, began to oppose their work simply because they were women openly expressing their views. As a result of the public reactions to their activism and experiences, Sarah and Angelina soon found themselves advocating not only for abolition, but also for women's rights. In fact, they were amongst the first women to speak out on these issues. After 1838, the Grimke sisters retired from public speaking and continued their activism through writing. Sarah lived with Angelina and Theodore, where the two women assisted Weld in researching for his book, American Slavery as It Is, in 1839. The sisters made their living as teachers and opened up a school within their home. Some of their students were the children of other abolitionists, like Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Sarah and Angelina Grimke looked at their world and demanded that it change. The Two of Wands affirms that you have already started on your personal path. There is still a long road ahead, but you can feel confident about the progress you've made this far. As you move forward, Group 3, you will be given the information you need to be clear about what you need to do. This card's appearance in your reading might indicate that you need to travel somewhere new to gain a different perspective. A change might be needed, a new home, a new circle of friends, for you to continue manifesting your desires and goals. The Two of Wands asks, What can you see around you that needs to change? What do you need to do personally to facilitate this? How will these plans, changes, and actions ultimately help you attain your desires? So these were your questions and inspiring message, and also the beautiful role model stories of the Grimke sisters who fought slavery with the power of their words, of their mind, of their speech. Okay, so now let's see the story that I will randomly choose for you from the Bygone Badass Broads. Okay, so we have another person who lived around the same time that at least one of the Grimke sisters was still alive. We have here Isabella Stewart Gardner, United States, 1814-1924, and she was a patron saint of the arts. In the middle of Boston, there is a Venetian palace packed floor to ceiling with an eccentric array of art and artifacts that haven't been moved in 100 years. It was built and collected by a tiny, red-headed hurricane of a woman named Isabella Stewart Gardner, the scandalous queen of 19th century Boston society and patroness of the arts. Isabella Stewart was born in 1840 to an affluent New York City family. After a good Victorian finishing school education in Paris, she met and married a Boston old-money gentleman named John, or as his friends called him, Jack Lowell Gardner. In 1865, Isabella and Jack's 2-year-old son died, and Isabella suffered from intense depression. And since this was back in the day when travel was a legitimate treatment for inexplicable mental health ailments, her doctor suggested Jack take his wife to the continent to cure her of melancholia. So Isabella and Jack went on a long, extravagant, rich person-style tour of Europe. And there Isabella fell in love with Europe, travel, and art. While in Europe, Isabella started buying stuff. There's really no other word for it besides stuff. She might have actually needed a case of retail therapy. Art, artifacts, furniture, tapestries, statues, jewelry, pottery, all the things. After that first sojourn across Europe, the couple would travel abroad nearly a dozen times, going to Russia, Turkey, the Middle East, as well as across America. Isabella's favorite destination was Venice. Everywhere they went, she bought stuff and more stuff. Books and papers, art, evangelical items, Rembrandts, Botticellis, Raphaels, instrument artifacts, Chinese and Egyptian antiquities. Really, the only thing the items purchased on her international shopping sprees had in common was that Isabella simply liked them. When Jack died, Isabella decided to take the considerable wealth left to her by her husband and build a house in the Fenway area of Boston. But Isabella was not just any lady, so it was not just any house. She designed and oversaw construction of a museum in the style of a Venetian palace to house her vast art collection where the public could enjoy it. Isabella was obsessively involved in the building of her museum. She laid out her extensive collection piece by piece. She picked out the wallpaper and the stonework. I really want you to look at this. When the painters weren't doing the stucco quite right, Isabella got up off the scaffolding and showed them how she wanted it done. In all things, Isabella was a boss lady who did what she wanted. She smoked cigarettes. The newspaper claimed she took zoo lions for a stroll in the park. She shocked Boston society by showing up to the symphony wearing a headband that said, "Oh, you Red Sox." "Oh, you Red Sox." She invited the Harvard football team over after they beat Yale. Isabella loved football and hosted boxing matches at her home. While the men fought, she danced. The press was horrified and fascinated by her, and Isabella reveled in her scandalous reputation. Her motto was, "Don't spoil a good story by telling the truth." Isabella was not just a collector of art, she also collected men in a totally non-sexual way. Everyone wanted to be in her circle. She was a gatekeeper of high society, the Axel of society in turn-of-the-century America. She knew everyone. Artists, poets, politicians, painters, basically anyone who was anyone or might someday be someone, and kept a close inner circle of artistic men around her, including John Singer Sargent, who is actually the one who painted this image. This is called Portrait of Madame X, but it was rendered here in different colors. So this is not really an image of Isabella, it's more an image of another woman. We can talk about this another time. So John Singer Sargent, James McNeill Whistler, and Henry James. Though people like to talk, these relationships were purely intellectual as far as we know, though Isabella did burn all her letters before she died. The archives of her museum hold more than 7,000 letters from 1,000 correspondences as testaments to her social butterfly nature. Henry James, a member of a famous harem of dudes, said that Isabella is not a woman. She is a locomotive with a Pullman car attached. Isabella's museum became a community space for artists, musicians, and Boston citizens of all stripes to enjoy art from around the world, at a time when those things were not as accessible as they are today. In the 18,000s, art was mostly for the viewing pleasure of the wealthy. She used her money to make it available to all. When Isabella died, in the 1800s. When Isabella died, she left her money to a slew of charitable institutions, including a trust she set aside to keep the museum open. The only condition? Nothing in her museum could be moved around or changed from how Isabella laid it out. The museum is still open. You can visit the lovingly laid out collection in her Venetian palace in Boston. And if your name is Isabella, you always get in for free. This is amazing. So I see here a footnote. A lot of men in Isabella's notorious harem were gay. Isabella was an early champion of gay rights, and she made her museum and home a safe space for her friends and their partners. Wow, okay. Wow, what a woman. It's the first time I hear of her, so this is pretty phenomenal. Okay, so this is one of your role model stories. I hope you have enjoyed this as well. So let's find the final story I have here for you, group 3, if I can pick up the book. So let's see. Group 3, which story? Okay, you got Maria Reiche. Yes, I think she's from Germany, so I guess that's how you pronounce her name, Maria Reiche. Her quote is, "When I first came to Peru by sea, the ship passed through the center of 4 consecutive rainbows, 4 arcs, one inside the other." Wow. So Maria Reiche is an archaeologist. In a small house in a Peruvian desert, in a small house in a Peruvian desert, there lived an adventurous German mathematician called Maria Reiche. Etched into the dry desert rocks were hundreds of lines. No one knew what they were for, or why they were there, or even how old they were. These mysterious lines, called Nazca lines, became Maria's passion. She flew planes and helicopters to map the lines, and when there were no planes to fly, she just climbed the tallest ladder she could find to observe the lines from above. Some lines had been covered by dust, so she used brooms to clean them. She used so many brooms that some people thought she was a witch. And as she studies the lines, she discovered something incredible. Those were not just random scratches. They were enormous drawings made by the people who lived there thousands of years ago. There was a hummingbird, intertwined hands, flowers, a gigantic spider, all sorts of geometrical shapes. Why would these ancient people create drawings that could only be seen from the sky? What were they? It was a mystery she was determined to solve. She found that the lines corresponded to the constellations in the night sky. "It's like a giant map of the heavens," she said. When Maria moved to Germany, when Maria moved from Germany to Peru, she wasn't looking for giant mysterious drawings. But when she found them, she knew she would spend the rest of her life trying to figure them out. She became known as the Lady of the Lines. So I guess you'd be interested to find out that Maria was born on 15th of May 1903, and she sadly passed away in 1998, but this would make her a Taurus sun. So in case you were wondering what astrological sign Maria had, so I hope you have enjoyed this reading. These are the role model stories I have for your group 3. I hope that these inspire you. I hope you can do some more research on these women if you found them particularly interesting and you would like to learn more. And also, I hope you take great care of yourself, and I cannot wait to see you in my next one. Bye, my loves. Hello group 4, welcome to a very special pick a card reading in which we honor the divine feminine. In this part of your reading, we are going to see who are your guiding and protective goddesses in this period. So this is for those of you that were drawn to Malala Yousafzai. She's such a sweetheart. She is a female activist, an educational activist. She is well known for having been shot at just because she wanted to go to school, and she is a person that is also a Cancer sun and the first female Nobel Peace Prize laureate. So we see here a very wonderful nurturing energy, and you might be yourself a Cancer, or you might have Cancerian energy in your chart somewhere. So let's see right now, who are your guiding goddesses? I get a little bit emotional in this reading, so bear with me, guys. I hope that you're also feeling good and having a good day, and if not, I hope that I'm empowering you with this reading. The cards I pulled out for you are Hlin, the goddess of support, or she's bringing support in your life. We have Laka, love. We also have here the cosmic egg, which isn't necessarily a goddess as much as a universal energy like Shakti or Agni. We have here the affirmations that this energy is bringing into your life. I hold the universe within me. I am the force of an ever-expanding love. So you're pretty special, group 4. You actually got the essence of the divine feminine. Not only that, but you also got here Demeter, goddess of the harvest, and her keyword is the nurturer. And it's interesting because group 2 got Persephone and you got her mother, Demeter. So maybe you might be the mother of group 2 in case you're watching this, across relatives and across age groups. So let's see right now what are the deeper meanings and what are the stories behind these goddesses that you're meeting here today, potentially for the first time in some cases. Hlin. Of the various handmaidens that serve the Norse goddess Frigg, only Hlin is mentioned more than any other. Known as the Shield, Hlin protects all innocent individuals from harm and is especially vigilant when it comes to women in crisis. Her efforts are meant not only to safeguard one from physical violence, but also from spiritual and mental distress. Within the Norse text, the name Hlin can be translated into English as help or refuge, even inspiring the expression Hleinir, or peace and quiet. With shield always in hand, the goddess of consolation and protection faithfully stands guard over all who are in need of solace. Hlin's message of support to you is, Hlin asks you that you stand behind her so she may shield you with the power of support. Obstacles come in a multitude of forms, and we can often feel alone in overcoming them. This can easily evolve into a struggle that is worsened by our pride or sense of worthiness. Hlin has stepped forward on your behalf to help you see that the universe is now in full support of you. This can come in the form of arbitrary coincidences, a close friend, or even a complete stranger. Now is the time to be receptive and allow yourself to be fully supported, as the problems at hand become truly temporary when the divine intervenes. So you're massively supported in this period, especially if you're looking for a refuge. Okay, let's see right now. We have here the goddess Laka. This is the Hawaiian goddess of love. Goddess of love and wilderness, Laka is gifting you with the powers of attraction right now. You'll find yourself especially magnetic to the things you're seeking, and if you lean into that, she'll reveal the path to your romantic success. Okay, so you are protected by Hlin, and Laka is also making you incredibly attractive in this period. I want to see right now what the message of Demeter has that she can bring towards you. And I have to say, in your reading, my hands are going like this, which is the universal sign of protection, especially in witchcraft. So again, protection, you're strongly protected, group 4. You have nothing to be afraid about, okay? Giving to others is a wonderful feeling. When you have a healthy sense of yourself, you want to share your love, your inspiration, and your experience, and the exchange feels clean. Your boundaries are fluid yet strong. The Greek goddess of grain, motherhood, and the harvest, Demeter, reminds you that a harvest is meant to be shared. You've now tapped into her nurturing love, which is abundant, and your well-meaning gestures will be received with gratitude and in some way return to you tenfold. Now is the time to nourish yourself too, for giving must be balanced by receiving. Allow yourself to feel how the universe is like a wonderful nurturing mother that is always there when you need her. Demeter says to trust that you are loved and cared for all day, every day, and for all time, especially now. Yeah, especially now. And I've kept the best for last, the essence of the divine feminine. We have here the cosmic egg. Let's see. Who is this cosmic egg? The cosmic egg is the core symbol of the divine feminine's creative force. It is a spiritual motif found in the creation myths of countless cultures and civilizations. It represents a birth, a new beginning, or an expansion of life. In the Rig Veda, one of the oldest texts in any Indo-European language, the cosmos is described as a golden, egg-shaped womb. The entire universe is said to have merged with it. In Greek mythology, the Orphic egg hatched the primordial hermaphroditic deity, who then created all the gods and goddesses. Hermaphroditic means it contains both female and male characteristics. So the cosmic egg is depicted as an egg with a serpent wrapped 3 times around it. In Egyptian, Chinese, and Polynesian mythologies, among many others, creation begins with an egg. And in the Christian tradition, Mary Magdalene used the egg to describe how life begins again after death. In modern cosmology, it is believed that 13 billion years ago, the entire mass of the universe was compressed into a gravitational singularity, the so-called cosmic egg. And from that singularity, the universe has expanded ever since to its current state and continues in this moment to expand even further. The special message that this cosmic egg has for you is: nothing needs to happen. Everything is exactly as it should be. You hold the universe inside of you. All life emerges from within. If you try to exert pressure for something to exist before it's ready, that new life within you won't have the time it needs to fully form. The cosmic egg is the essence of the divine feminine. It is the ultimate symbol of the creative force that exists within each one of us. It's the dark, loving womb that holds and protects all creative expressions of life. If we allow what's within us to emerge in divine timing, in kairos or soul time, then what's within us will transform us. The egg is the trust that what is ours can never be taken from us. So there's no need to answer the ego's push to rush, to process, to impress others, or to complete something on someone else's timeline. The egg is the faith that our process is sacred, that even in the midst of what looks like chaos or delay or even death, there's a tendril of new life that needs only our trust to eventually take form. And the egg is the knowing that life begins again after death from within. This has been quite touching. I actually feel like crying on your behalf, Group 4. I hope this has been deeply nurturing for you. I hope that now you are aware of what are your protective goddesses and what beautiful energy surrounds you. And I do want you to continue the flow and also watch your invocations and your role model story. But if this is where you decide to say goodbye, then I wish you all the best on your merry way. Ciao. Hi Group 4, hello my loves, welcome to the second part of your reading. This is called the Invocations because this time I have invoked the goddesses I work with, Goddess Isis, Goddess Kali, and Goddess Kuan Yin, to see what deeper messages they need to tell you regarding how to best activate or reactivate Divine Feminine in your life. So let's see the card that I pull for you under their guidance. We have here Soul Retrieval, Deep Soul Healing with Goddess Isis. Okay. We also have here Lalita Tripura Sundari. And we have here Nectar of the Lotus, a message from Goddess Kuan Yin. Good, so now I'm going to read you the deeper meanings behind these cards. Isis, healing goddess, now offers you spiritual restoration and deep soul healing through the art of soul retrieval, reclaiming pieces of you lost through trauma, old and new. Soon you will enjoy greater wellness, energy, and power, as well as the opening of gifts and soul abilities you did not know you had. Did you know that pieces of you can be trapped in the past in traumatic experiences and in relationships, even those long since gone, because part of your power remains with another? This can happen because of permission subconsciously given for them to hold a piece of your spirit. Then the time comes for such permissions to be revoked, and the pieces of self to be reclaimed and restored to the soul. Master Healer and Goddess of Deep Soul Restoration, the Lady Isis now guides you to make peace with the past and reclaim the lost pieces of your soul. The time has come for you to take yourself entirely into your own possession, to call back your soul from trauma in this lifetime and others, to give yourself back to yourself wholly and completely. In doing so, your life will flourish, infused with greater energy, into beautiful new expression. Isis calls the soul back into wholeness again. Her passion, determination, and unfailing love for her beloved Osiris restored him from a dismembered, distorted, and fractured self into a whole divine masculine being once more. The Oracle of Soul Retrieval guides you to forgive and reclaim your own power and energy in totality now, even if the trapped energy is so unconscious that you do not even know that you are missing parts of yourself. Searching for any inner places that feel incomplete or draining is a way to commence the process of soul retrieval. Forgiveness can be a good place to begin the work more consciously. This is hard spiritual work sometimes because we can want to be right or justified in what we feel or perceive, and we don't want to be harmed again by allowing inappropriate behavior. In the action of forgiveness, you are simply reclaiming your energy from the situation, person, or experience so that it is at your disposal instead of being trapped in another person's energy field. What is most likely to occur is that the person, place, or situation will simply fall away from your life and be released. You will not be opening yourself up to attack. You will be wiser and stronger for your forgiveness and the ability that forgiveness gives you to reclaim your spirit. You will have more energy, and with no further effort, you will actually move on, not just in mind or body, but in spirit. The Oracle of Soul Retrieval also brings a special message for healers. Sometimes in your deep work with others, your desire to be of service can drain you if you are not carefully cleansing your energy field. If you have pulled this card together with the Pyramid of Light, then you are encouraged to do swift and thorough psychic and spiritual cleansing each evening. So we haven't actually pulled this card because I just pulled one card for you, but I am noticing right now how we also have another goddess here, Lalita Tripura Sundari, which appeared potentially to indicate how and whom she will cleanse the soul energy that might have been taken away from you. So we can base this message on this other message, which I will read to you in a second. The more you base your work in unconditional love, which is the true nature of the soul, the more powerful your work will become for yourself and for others in service. Your healing gift is quite deep, and if you are interested in working in a healing capacity with others or wondering if this is the right calling for you, then this card serves as a confirmation to you. This guidance applies equally to those that are not formal healers, but tend to attract those seeking guidance and support informally in their lives. Okay, so I can see here that this is a message for people that have natural talents in helping and guiding others. So let's see right now what Lalita Tripura Sundari has to convey to you. With luminous grace, she plays her ways into our heart, softening hardness and despair, awakening the remembrance of light, of love, of joy. No matter what you have experienced, your heart shall be cleansed and released from ugliness, sorrow, and pain. Negative karmic legacies will be cleared away. Our divine sister goddess invites you to recognize her golden restorative beauty shining within your heart. Cultivate that which is worthy of such beauty, for this is your essential nature. Gracefully release all else with dignity. The third of the Mahavidya wisdom goddesses, Lalita Tripura Sundari, is the Divine Mother manifesting as light, playfulness, and beauty. In the Shakti Tantras, or scriptures of the Divine Feminine, there are two schools. One school celebrates Kali as the primordial origin of the universe, and the other worships Lalita. Yet they are but two faces of the one Divine Mother. Lalita doesn't compete with Kali, she is her boon-giving brightness. Lalita's presence in a reading is a reminder to play. Her sadhana, or practice, asks us to cleanse and heal our minds so we do not become consumed and overwhelmed by the suffering or ugliness happening in our world. Without denying your dark side, we can look through the inner eye to see what is happening on a spiritual level. If we look for the inner spiritual truth, we will find divine beauty. That is the courage, kindness, selflessness, generosity, love, and strength that humans develop and express in response to their problems. Lalita is the power to recondition the mind away from agony and into delight. This doesn't require changing the world, but rather seeing it a bit differently. Instead of seeing humanity as victimized, weak, ego-driven, and wounded, we can affirm humanity as a collective of spiritually brave souls willing to incarnate and grow during a challenging time of spiritual obscuration on earth. There is divine beauty in such boldness of spirit. Internally, we shift from despair to awe, changing our chemistry along with our consciousness. As that takes place, we begin to vibrate energetically at a higher frequency. Challenges are recognized as means through which blessings can be activated. The mindset of the warrior fighting against darkness can shift into the mindset of the priestess, facilitating the increasing presence of spiritual light upon our earth. Same world, same circumstances, but different approaches, interpretation, and responses, which in turn leads to a different experience in future for us all. Sometimes we need the darkness, the feistiness of Kali and the warrior spirit. Yet at other times, the lightness of heart, the delighted mind, and the buoyant spirit are what will open the way for us. For life to happen, we need both night and day, winter and summer, and everything in between. Lalita is the reminder to give due honor to the brightness and light, especially if we have been dealing with a lot of darkness. In a reading, Lalita Tripura Sundari is a sign of good things intended for you. The ending of a truly difficult time is near as a spiritual shift from the dark night of the soul into something of a golden era in your life appears. It is a promise of release into beauty and grace. Do your work to orient yourself, to shift your inner being and be ready for her. Tripura translates as three cities and refers to the triple goddess, as a virgin, Bala, as a fertile woman, Sundari, and as a crone, Bhairavi. In a reading, this oracle indicates a change so radical and profound that it is irreversible. A previous chapter of your life is truly closing and will not be reopened. This will be reason for celebration, for the intervention of Lalita in our lives brings only light, joy, happiness, and fulfillment. Whatever you need to release right now shall create the space for what is divinely destined for you to manifest through her grace. You have every reason to feel hopeful. If you have been struggling with poverty consciousness or have lost a sense of joy and gratitude for your life path, Lalita is a portent of heart healing and restoration of grace, light, and dignity in your heart. You shall awaken to your true inner beauty. You shall enjoy a change of pace and a release from intensity. Open your heart and reorient your mind towards the golden era of your life. Wow, this has been such a powerful message that I feel the need to drink some water. Good, and now let's move on to the final message, the nectar of lotus. How gorgeous this sounds. The Divine Mother wishes that those who are meant to feed others will be fed too. Your devotion to helping others has the effect of squeezing the cosmic heart chakra of the Divine Mother. From her heart drips nectar, sweet, sustaining, life-affirming energy that feeds you and allows you to nourish many souls. Like a sacred chalice that overflows when you are full, well, and vital, the feeding of others happens effortlessly. You are guided to be fed now, fed with divine nectar from the heart of the Mother. There is an endless supply of energy, joy, peace, bliss, and love for you, flowing from the heart of the Divine Mother Kuan Yin. Yet sometimes we may experience limitation instead of endless supply. These limits can be a hidden blessing. They could be a sign that our mind and emotional life could use some help shifting from scarcity consciousness into a consciousness of abundance. As we do this, we tend to relax and flow more easily, tapping into what is needed rather than perceiving restriction. A limit or block in our flow might be telling us that our nervous system needs some time to adapt to receiving higher intensities of or spiritual electricity through our system as we become more used to living a joyful, higher vibrational existence. A limit or restriction in our energy might indicate that we have been so focused on giving to others that we have forgotten that we are part of the divine heart we are seeking to embody, and we need to gain more balance in our lives by taking some time out and attention for ourselves. When we are encountering a limit of some kind, whether through needing to come back into balance or because we are about to break through into a new level of spiritual growth and realization, it is wise to receive divine nectar to allow ourselves to become replenished and supported, honoring the guidance that is hiding in the limitation we are encountering. Then it will have served its purpose and the limit can fall away. Divine nectar is our vital energy. It is life force and the fuel for growth of all kinds. It is peace, it is power, it is abundance, and it is love and divine grace. It exists in the physical world and the spiritual worlds, forever intertwining with each other throughout the life of our universe. When our chi energy or life force is replenished, we feel creative, happier, and more content, accepting of ourselves, others, and life, and more able to flow in harmony with nature and divine will. It is much more enjoyable way to live in balance and with adequate chi than to be struggling to keep going at times when it would be more productive to love ourselves enough to stop, rest, replenish, and revitalize ourselves. Kuan Yin guides you to healing now by asking that you listen to yourself and your needs. What part of you needs more connection? Is it your emotions, your body, or your spirit? What would bring you the most joy and well-being? Do you need exercise or meditation or both? Do you need time alone to reconnect with yourself or time with friends and family? Imagine spending some time in nature. What type of nature would feel the best for you right now? Trees, the ocean or mountains, a wide open field blooming with vibrant flowers or rich grasses on a clear sunny day, or a cool dark forest with an abundant canopy of lush greenery. Even just becoming aware of what feels good for you at any given time is a way to open your heart to receive the divine nectar that seeks you out, to nourish you and replenish you. Taking a few moments to consider what you need strengthens your self-awareness and increases your ability to consciously meet your needs. This is essential for you to be able to cultivate your chi energy and live your happiest life. Wow, what a strong, powerful message. I hope that you found these messages to be inspiring and healing. This is what I had for you today. I do hope that you'll continue to watch the third part of this reading where I introduce you to your role model stories. But if you decide to part ways here, then thank you so much for listening and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye. Hey group 4, hello my loves, welcome to the third and final installment in this long Divine Feminine Activation Pick a Card. I'm so happy that you're able to join me here today. We are now going to be looking into inspiring stories of role models, stories of women, real life women that I hope can give you motivation and the inspiration to move forward with renewed determination to kick the patriarchy right where it hurts. So this being said, I have here our tarot. I'm going to pull one card from our tarot and then read you from this lovely guidebook the meaning of that card and also the story behind the women that will be depicted on that card. And then I'm also going to randomly select from this book, Bygone Badass Broads, a story, basically the remarkable mini autobiography of, And then I'm also going to read you from this book a story of a woman's life. Hopefully you'll find her interesting and inspiring. I also have here Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, another book that I have prepared for you. I'm also going to randomly select a story from this book, much like this one. Okay? I hope this explanation is hitting home somehow. I'm sorry guys, I've been doing the same kind of explanation for the other 3 piles and I'm getting a little bit tired, but maybe you are tired as well, so I can read you a really nice bedtime story. Okay, so let's see, first of all, from our tarot, which card are you going to get? Who is your inspiring woman? I feel like this card wanted to stay there, so we're just going to pick her. Okay, you got the 9 of Cups, and here we have Eloisa Diaz. Okay. So Eloisa Diaz, let's find out more about her. Let's find out deeper the meaning of this card as it is described in our tarot. So okay, so Eloisa Diaz was born in Chile. She lived at the turn of the 19th century, and we have here the keywords satisfaction, accomplishment, and good health. Okay, let's find out more about her. In 1887, Eloisa Diaz became the first female doctor of medicine in South America. Wow! A child prodigy, she enrolled in the University of Chile School of Medicine in 1880 at the age of 14. Her practice emphasized gynecology, although she had an interest in other issues outside the scope of women's health and education. According to Chile's Museo Nacional de Medicina, when Eloisa submitted her medical school thesis in 1886, she wrote, "La instrucción, como muchos pretenden, no es la perdición de la mujer, es su salvación. Instruction, as many claim, is not the woman's downfall, it is her salvation." In addition to her medical practice, Eloisa was also a teacher and a public health official. She supervised the hygiene and health of schools in Santiago and then for all of Chile as the director of the school medical service. Wow! In this role, she implemented vaccination programs for children and school breakfast for students, which eased suffering from diseases exacerbated or caused by nutritional deficiency, such as rickets. Her efforts helped countless impoverished children obtain an education without going hungry. Eloisa's efforts to make Chile a healthier place did not end here. As a philanthropist, she founded several kindergartens and schools for young students and also contributed to efforts to combat alcoholism in Chilean communities. In 1933, she was one of the founding members of the National Committee for Women's Rights. In 1946, she served as an ambassador to the United Nations. After advocating for women's suffrage, For many years, Chilean women were granted the right to vote in all local and national elections in 1949. Eloisa's work with children and women drew attention to social issues that would continue to be a part of public health and civil rights movements in the decades to come. By virtue of being the first woman in Chile to serve in such prominent positions, she paved the way for more Latin American women to become authorities in the fields of medicine and education. Eloisa Diaz served her country not only by doing research, but also by applying her findings and knowledge to care for the people around her in far-reaching ways. Her work resulted in healthier lives for Chilean children and increased educational, vocational, and political opportunities for women. The Nine of Cups embodies an enduring optimism and goodwill. It is not a deluded, fantastical energy, but a sense of satisfaction that is grounded in actuality. This card's appearance in your reading indicates your actions are currently serving a greater purpose. You can be pleased with what you have accomplished. If your desires haven't manifested in reality already, they likely will, as long as you keep acting in sync with your priorities for yourself and your community. The Nine of Cups is a reminder to focus on the blessings and breakthroughs your efforts have brought, rather than the frustration that any setbacks have caused. Consider the enduring friendships you have formed throughout your life and the unique experiences that you will never forget. This card is asking you, how can you better allow yourself to be pleased with those blessings and accomplishments? What about your life fulfills you the most? What personal wishes are you hoping to fulfill? Wow, such joyous energy. I love the fact that we're ending on such a beautiful note. And when I say ending, I'm not meaning ending your reading, but ending the whole string of readings, because you are the final fourth option in this pick a card. So Eloisa Diaz, wonderful story, and actually a successful, positive story, because not all of the women that I present in this pick a card today have had such a beautiful outcome. So now I'm going to randomly pick a story from the Bygone Badass Broads. Okay, so it seems that there is a link here to Spanish-speaking countries, because we got Elvira de la Fuente Chaudhar, or Chaudhar. So she lived at the beginning of the 20th century in Peru, France, and England. She was a drinker, gambler, playgirl, and spy. Awesome. Operation Fortitude was carried out by an unlikely squad of double agents in Britain who fed Germany incorrect information about the D-Day invasion during World War II. Their ranks included a bisexual Peruvian playgirl and gambler, a tiny Polish fighter pilot, a fast-talking Frenchwoman, a Serbian playboy, and a failed chicken farmer. Sounds like a dream team. To be clear, I would donate to a Kickstarter for a misfit wartime Avenger-style espionage movie about them in a hot second. But until that goes live, let's talk about the bisexual Peruvian playgirl, Elvira de la Fuente Chaudhar. The child of a Peruvian fertilizer magnate working as an ambassador in Vichy, France, Elvira, like many young women of history, had too much brain and not enough outlets. As a result, she spent most of her time entertaining herself by seeing how many commandments she could break in a single afternoon. Educated, spoiled, and exceedingly rebellious, as soon as she was old enough, Elvira ran away from her parents and into the arms of a Belgian stockbroker. Their 4 years of tumultuous marriage ended after Elvira slept her way across Brussels with both women and men. As one report later put it, she favors the companionship of women who may not be careful of their virginity. Youch. Known for bailing when things got sour, Elvira ran away again, this time to Cannes with her best friend, where they proceeded to raise hell as the Thelma and Louise of the French gaming tables. Elvira wasn't particularly worried about her safety when the Germans invaded France. She was young, rich, and hot, so basically invincible, but she was also in debt. She never seemed to know when to hold them and when to fold them, and as a result, she'd rack up an impressive roster of gambling debts. The German invasion was a good excuse to flee to England and start a new life where her creditors couldn't catch her. After a failed gig at the BBC, Elvira spent most of her time shuffling between the bars and the card tables, complaining to anyone who'd listen about how she had no money and was looking for something beyond bridge that would keep that big brains of hers occupied. And the right person must have heard her, because she soon ended up interviewing with the head of MI6, who offered her a job with the British Secret Service. Elvira had a few great traits for a spy. One, she had a Peruvian passport, which would allow her to travel in Europe in wartime, and her diplomat parents provided cover for her movements in occupied France. Two, she had a reputation as a cocktail-grubbing party girl who cared for nothing beyond booze, betting, and batting for both teams. And three, she was broke as a joke, and MI6 paid better than losing at cards. The plan was this. After training her up in the skills needed for sabotage, Elvira would be sent into France, where she would parade herself before the Germans as a tantalizing recruit for their war effort. Once the Third Reich had signed her on, she would report back to Britain from behind enemy lines and feed her German employers bogus information made up by MI6 about Allied movements. And it worked. After just a few weeks in Cannes, Elvira made eyes at a dark-haired stranger across the bar who spoke French with a German accent, and soon, not only had the Germans recruited her, but she also had a German salary going into her bridge antes. Unbeknownst to her German employers, this officially made Elvira a member of XX, or the Double Cross, the team of English agents spying on the Germans from within their own ranks. Her codename was Bronx for her favorite drink. Elvira wrote letters to the Germans filled with trivial girly details like, "Can I pull off a red lip?" and 10 clothing items that make him lose interest. But in between the lines, she wrote information about British movements in invisible ink. Of course, it was all fake information from MI6, but the Third Reich didn't know that. They trusted her implicitly. Since the Germans knew an invasion was imminent, and since they considered Elvira one of their most reliable agents, she was tasked with sending them information via coded bank deposits about the time and location of the Allies' planned charge. Elvira told them the British were definitely going to come at them from the Bay of Biscay, and they should definitely move all their troops there, which obviously was fake news. But it worked. When the Allies landed in Normandy, there was an entire tank division chilling in the Bay of Biscay, waiting for the attack, all thanks to Elvira. Elvira spent the rest of her life running a souvenir shop and living off her inheritance. A month before her death, she received a £5,000 check from MI6, a small token of thanks for her help in the war effort, and probably lost it all at bridge before she breathed her last. What a story, what a woman. I hope that you found this inspiring, not to condone her bad behavior, but life is also made up of people who make bold and risky choices. And just because a woman is a little bit of a risk taker, that doesn't make her necessarily an awful individual. Anyway, I leave it up to you to decide the morality of that story, but here we go with finding out your third and final inspiring woman. Let's see. Oh wow, Lakshmi Bai. So she appeared, I think either in group 1. Yes, I think she was in group 1, the warrior queen, and you got it here as well, which makes me think that maybe you listened to group 1 and now you're here for group 4. So her quote is, "Charge!" Let's read her story in a different way. Once upon a time, in the state of Jhansi, India, lived a girl who loved fighting. She studied self-defense, archery, and sword fighting. She trained hard at weightlifting and wrestling, and was a brilliant writer too. She formed her own private army with other girls who were also skilled in fighting techniques. Lakshmi Bai married Gangadhar Rao, Maharaja of Jhansi, and became queen, Rani in Sanskrit. Lakshmi and Gangadhar had a child, but the boy died tragically young. The Maharaja never recovered from the sadness of losing a son and died himself soon after. At that time, the British ruled India, and they wanted to rule Jhansi too. They used the death of Lakshmi's son and husband as an excuse, and ordered her to leave the palace. First, Rani Lakshmi Bai tried to fight the British in court, but they refused to hear her case, so she assembled an army of 20,000 rebels, which included both men and women. After a fierce battle, her army was overcome, but even then, Rani Lakshmi Bai did not give in. She left the city by jumping her horse down a huge wall and headed east, where she was joined by more rebels, many of whom were girls like her. Rani Lakshmi Bai led her troops back into battle, dressed as a man and on horseback. One of the British generals remembered her as the most dangerous of all the rebel leaders. Wow, and I think you'll be happy to hear that in the first story we weren't given her birth date, but here it seems like she was born on November 19th, 1828, and she died on June 18th, 1858. So she was a Scorpio Sun, a badass. Wow. So we began with her story and we're ending with her story. I hope you have enjoyed this reading. I hope that you found these stories inspiring. It's been a pleasure for me to read them for you. I do hope that I can see you in my next one. And until then, take wonderful care of yourself, Group 4, my Malala Yousafzai crew. God bless. Bye.